Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Town of Strathmore Council meeting of January 16, 2013. With all these people here, did we do something wrong? I'd just like, first off, before we get going, I would like to thank, in regards to the event this weekend, I want to thank everyone that was involved, and especially the emergency management team and all the volunteers from the rural and the local fire departments. They did a great and awesome job. All the town staff, they took their weekends up, and you know what, and family time. We really got to thank them. All the contractors who diligently worked throughout the night to get this job done. They worked. Some of them hadn't been to bed for 30 hours. And my fellow town councilors who went out and served, delivered pamphlets and so on from door to door. And to the whole community for abiding by the rules and respecting the water, conserving the water. I mean, it was just great on everybody's behalf. It was everybody put together, and that's what a community is about. And I want to thank everybody. Thank you very much. Before we get going, there's the opening prayer from Hope Community Church. Is everyone? Thank you. Coming forward. Right beside near, if you like.
Oh, protection.
Yeah.
I agree.
Just you.
God, we thank you for our town council that serves and makes decisions for us and on our behalf. Would you be with them tonight as they discuss many issues important? Would you give them the discernment to know what the best decisions are to make? And would you bless them as they serve? It's a privilege to serve in this way. And we thank you for their willingness to do so, God. In your name, amen.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And I see our fire chief is diligently standing here waiting to, and I'm unaware of what he's doing, so I'm a little nervous. So go ahead, Fire Chief.
Your Worship, because we have a full house here tonight, do you mind if I do my ceremony?
Great idea.
Good evening, Your Worship, Steve Graychuk, councilors, administration, and guests in the gallery. It's my pleasure to stand before you this evening and witness a significant event which is about to unfold. This evening, on behalf of the Governor General of Canada, the Right Honourable David Lloyd Thompson, we are going to award the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal to a dedicated and outstanding leader within our community and country. The Diamond Jubilee Medal was designed to recognize and honor Queen Elizabeth II for 60 years reign as Queen and Monarch to the British Commonwealth. 60,000 medals have been struck from silver and are being presented throughout Canada. The person we're going to honor tonight is an exceptional leader, a mentor, and truly believes in following the virtues of being a Canadian. He is a leader in our community and country and has received national recognition for the preservation of our environment and the control of solid waste through science and technology. This gentleman is well known through Alberta, Canada, and particularly in our community. He has served as a municipal administrator for many communities throughout Alberta. He has shared his wisdom and experiences with hundreds of scouts, first as a leader and then as a district commissioner. This gentleman enjoys mentoring young people, always offering kind words to members of the 4-H organizations. His specialty, of course, being sheep and beef. Gail, his wife, can certainly attest to his enjoyment around younger people. Raising 8 children and 27 grandchildren is a milestone in itself. Your Worship, may I ask that you come forward and present the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal to Dr. Dwight Stanford.
Right, congratulations.
Thank you.
Dwight, Muir said it all, the chief said it all the time. And it's great work with you.
Thank you. Wow.
And,
Speech.
I really appreciate this and the recognition. And the one on the environment is pretty interesting. A few years ago, the Canadian Association of Municipal Administrators were looking for an environmental project for all of Canada, as an example. And town council, myself, and staff came up with the idea of taking treated effluent out to the Freeman Marsh. And we took it out there, and it was recognized as the #1 environmental award for that year. And that was about 7 years ago. So thank you.
As we continue along this evening, it has been brought to my attention that I can bear witness to another presentation of the Diamond Jubilee Medal. My sources have informed me that our next candidate has been seeking the proverbial special gift under the Christmas tree. He has been very comical in listening to his rant and rave over the last month. Our newest candidate has distinguished himself with the title Mr. Strathmore. So, Your Worship, I must insist that you step beside me, and I ask Deputy Mayor Pat Field to come forward and make this next presentation. Mayor Graychuk has been a leader in our community since 1978. He has served and provided leadership on many boards, committees, and organizations in and around Strathmore. His dedication to our community is beyond reproach, serving as coach, manager, volunteer to many youth organizations like minor hockey and minor baseball. As a successful businessman and realtor in Strathmore, Steve's most notable focuses were with the Strathmore Agricultural Society and the Chamber of Commerce. Steve enjoys new opportunities, new ventures, and always looking for new prospects. His claim to fame is that he has traveled to 29 different countries, 35 different states, and all over Canada, inspiring others to follow their dreams and enjoy the moment. Steve's passion is without a doubt his 3 beautiful grandchildren. On behalf of the Governor General of Canada, please accept this medal for your inspiration and your leadership and dedication to the town of Strathmore.
No speech, no speech.
Well, thank you very much, and I wanted to say that there's many people in the community that are much more deserving or equally deserving of that award, but I really take it in perspective and take it with much pride. And it's been so long ago that I traveled these countries that some of the countries have changed names. So it's been a while. But anyway, thank you very much, and it's an honor.
So, Your Worship, continuing on with the emergency side, or the emergency management side of our business. Okay, I don't need notes. That's my forte. I don't have to take instruction. Tonight, we're going to honor 3 candidates or 3 people in the community who have completed 12 years of continuous services with Emergency Management Alberta. And these 3 candidates, basically, this medal is presented by, from the Fire Commissioner's Office, who is responsible for, quote, Emergency Management of Alberta. So on behalf of the Fire Commissioner of Alberta, I would like to call up Dr. Dwight Stanford, Mrs. Linda Nelson, and firefighter Kevin Kemps. Come forward, please. And yourself, Your Worship. Okay. Yes, Linda. Okay. Okay.
A rose between 2 thorns.
Oh. Okay, Your Worship. This is for Dr. Stanford. Yeah, for the emergency services. Linda? Join Linda and Kevin on behalf of the Fire Commissioner. Congratulations on receiving this award. Thank you. So, Your Worship, that's all I have for tonight. So I want to thank you for your time and council time for allowing us to be here tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark.
Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Any additions or deletions? Councilor Sobel?
No, just give me 1 second, Your Worship. Yes, actually, I would like to add one thing, and with the council's permission, considering this is an issue which deals with public safety, I'd like to add under 8.9, new item, Highway 1 traffic concerns.
8.9 is bullying.
And that was before we got all the amendments.
Number 10?
8.12, I guess.
What was it called?
Highway 1 traffic concerns. Thank you. That's all I have, Your Worship. That's yours.
Councilor Rocky?
Yes, Your Worship, under 813, if I could add downtown snow clearing / removal, please.
Thank you. Councilor Hamilton?
Nothing, Your Worship.
Councilor Best?
I have nothing, Your Worship.
Councilor Fuel?
I have nothing, Your Worship.
Councilor Ramble?
Nothing from me, Your Worship.
Administration?
Hi, Jen. You got a couple items?
Yes, Your Worship, in front of you, you have favorite amendments on it. So we have item 810, new town logo, and item 8.811, United Way Committee.
Thank you.
Move to accept the agenda with amendments and additions.
All in favor? Carried. 401, adoption of the 212 regular council meeting.
I move the council adopt the December 5th, 2012 council meeting minutes as presented.
You all heard the motion, all in favor? Carried. 4.2, adoption of the December 13, 2012 special council meeting.
I move the council adopts the December 13th, 2012 special council meeting minutes as presented.
You all heard the motion, all in favor? Carried. 4.3, adoption of the December 20th, 2012 special council meeting.
Your Worship, I would move to adopt the December 20th, 2012 special council meeting minutes.
You all heard the motion, all in favor? Carried. We have a delegation from the RCMP here. Mr. Kevin Riley. Sergeant. Staff Sergeant, sorry. Acting Staff Sergeant.
You'll answer to just about
I'll get it right yet.
Thanks, Your Worship and councilors, for having me here. I have a quick report. I know you guys don't want to be lengthy, so I'll try and go on through this. If there's any questions, please stop and ask me. I will run through it real quick so we get through it and try and hit on what we're trying to do here. Strathmore, since the last attachment commander left, and I've taken over as the acting, and that. So, I do have stats for you all. They're great, taken literally. I'm not a big stats guy, and I think they can be manipulated or they're dependent on the people inputting them. So I won't go through specific stats there. I'll just generally tell you what I found in them when I analyzed them and looked at them. Generally, everything's down. Overall, the final page says we're down about 15%, which in the police world is generally a good thing. But again, that's always relevant. I mean, that just means maybe we put away some bad crooks that did a lot of things, and they're still in jail. And then when they get out, they come back up. So relatively, they're down, but that doesn't, I'm not going to stand here and say we're doing the greatest job in the world. So, traffic is probably the biggest changeover, and that's down about 35%, and that includes the provincial stats and that. Part of that is a number of mainly three reasons. The integrated traffic unit is not at full strength. So with that, the sheriffs, their statistics that they do in town here are included in our statistics, and that's part of it. But the other thing is that we're down with manpower in that. We've had a few injuries in the office, and we have certain people that are on late duty, so they're on administrative duties only. And that kind of has a twofold effect, because the guys that are on the road have to pick up the slack, and we have to do that. And obviously the traffic, which is the self-generated work, and that is decreased. The only stats or offenses that are up are theft over $5,000, which is generally vehicles that get stolen. And it's only up slightly from 10 last year, or 10 in 2011, to 13 in 2012. And just so you know, the stats for what you have in front of you and what I'm looking at is just from September 1st to December 31st. So it's just that last quarter in 2012. The only other stat or offense that's gone up is possession of stolen property, which saw an increase from 4 to 11. So, if you have any questions on stats, that's about all I have to say. And certainly take those home and look at them if you want, and certainly call me or come to the office, and I'm more than willing to discuss on it. So,
Thank you. Any questions from council?
there's a few other things I want to run through real quick with regards to our programs. Domestic violence coordinator we have had for 2 years. It works with us, and prosecutor and victim services with the victims and that. It's been an immense help. Their term runs out here in a year, so we have to try and find some funding. So I'm working with the crisis shelter to try and find more funding so we can continue that program. DARE is currently in effect right now, and we have one member teaching it at Westmount School here. We have a second member that's teaching it out in the rural area. And we have a third member that we trained here last spring that we're trying to get into one of the schools in town here. We're trying to get it into Westmount, but we're trying to work with that. One of my big focuses is, one, our community involvement, and also with that, the school zones. Trying to get in the members to do more school zone patrols during the times when we need them to be, Monday to Friday, obviously, at the beginning and at the end of school. So I've started or created a program to try to influence our members to get out more, and it's always a challenge, but that's one of the things I've tried to do here in the last couple of months. I'm not going to say we're going to suddenly get a whole raft of members out there at that time, but it's a slow process like anything. It's hopefully change their attitudes and get them up a little more than they have been. One thing with Victim Services Unit, their referrals are up immensely. We currently have 10 advocates that are volunteers that are in working with them. They're on 24/7, 365 days of the year on call. And they're obviously a huge help. But we've had a new program coordinator take over from the last one just in the last year. She's done a very impressive job, and we currently have 17 more volunteers in the process of becoming certified and getting the clearance so that they're able to work with us. So when those get through, it is a fairly long process. It can take anywhere between 3 to 9 months to get the RCD clearance and that. So that's why, but we're working on that with them. The one thing they did want me to mention to you guys is that they're trying to start a walk A Mile in Her Shoes, and that's for May 22nd, and it's in Gleason. That's a program, fundraiser for VSU where everybody walks in women's shoes for a mile. And you get sponsors and try to raise money. It's a fairly large program across Canada. Leslie has started, the victim service coordinator, started it here. She's trying to do it. The reason it's in Gleason is because that program across Canada has a stipulation that you have to be 50 miles is the closest radius you can be from the next closest program. And since there is one in Calgary, the 50 kilometers is Gleason. So that's why it's being held out in Gleason. But all the communities that VSU represents, ours, Chestermere and Gleason, will obviously benefit from that. So the final thing is that we have a program that I started a few years ago with Mount Royal University College practicum students, where we have practicum students work with our office staff and members, and we currently are continuing that. It's a huge benefit. They put in about 300 hours is what the program calls for, and they obviously help us out in an immense way. Usually most of their work is front counter, dealing with complainants at the front counter, filling out accident forms and that, which obviously the first couple of weeks is a learning process, but after that they're beneficial because they're helping keep the load off of some of our support staff. With regards to resources, from what I understand, and I believe you guys have heard from AMA, the province is supposed to be kicking in 3 provincial positions in the next 4 years, hopefully. If that happens, and when that happens, hopefully, what I'm looking at is trying to put one of those positions into a GIS position. We've attempted that a few times in the last 5 years since I've been here, but it has to be done through the chain of command and through district and the CO of the division. And district and us have never been able to work that out. Recently, I approached district again, and they seem to be in favor of that, so that's something we're going to be looking at, which will obviously help us in town, because as you know, we have a GIS position here, and sometimes he gets called to be used out in the rural area. So if we can get that provincial position as a GIS, it helps us both ways to do that. So, as I mentioned, we have a few members that are ODS. As of Friday, actually, one is back on duty, so we have them on full duties. I have also, we've had a few off that are off on administrative duties, because they're only our light duties, we call it in the office, because of injuries and such. But we also have had 2 surplus to establishment positions, so there's 2 extra members that are above the complement that we have to supplement that issue. And I know of things that are happening with regards to members transferring out and different things, paternity leaves that have to be taken by members that are allowed. And because of that, I've recently approached district, and we've gotten support from them, and we'll be getting 2 more cadets here in the next 3 months. We have one coming next month and one coming beginning of March. And we may be looking at a third sometime in the next couple months after that. So we're trying to keep up with that, and I'm trying to anticipate the transfers and the different resource problems we'll have by getting those members and looking at those resources coming in and replacing them before we lose them. The other final thing with regards to resources is we had applied, and we finally got some confirmation to get a public service employee. Like you all know, we have 4 municipal employees that are support staff in the office, but we've been banging federal government to get us a 3rd position on the public sector there. And we got it about 1.5 years ago, but through that process that it takes so long to hire them, we finally got confirmation here recently in the last couple of weeks that we will be getting that position filled hopefully by June. So don't quote me on the month, it may be May, it may be July, but I believe it's somewhere around May and July. So the final topic I'll talk about is our community involvement, which is, I think, very important, and I've always strived to try to get us involved more. I think that we can do a little better job that way, and I hope to try to influence our guys that way. One of the things over Christmas, we did a number of check stops, and I believe we estimate somewhere around 3,500 cars were checked in that 10-day window of Christmas and New Year's, with approximately 10 to 12 different check stops. That doesn't count the roving ones we did New Year's Eve in town here, where we had about 4 different spots for about 4 hours. So obviously our red search duties, the rodeo, parade, things like that, we're obviously going to be trying to focus on and get that continued. Another thing is the bike patrols. We've had a couple of members trained in the last few years, and I want to try to get that program up and running and have more members out on the bikes, because that's, I think, a major proactive program that we can use in town. With regards to myself in the acting position, I want to try to become more active with regards to the different community groups and associations. Obviously, I'm on a couple of different committees with regards to interagency and SWAT, but I want to talk to some of the service clubs like the Lions and that, partly to get them to know who I am or whoever the detachment commander that comes in is, and get us out there meeting those types of people, and also with regards to the Chamber of Commerce. I can't tell you how that may affect us or work. I think it will only improve the relationships between the police and the community, and I believe it will. But I know that in doing so with Standard right now, I've already been out to Standard and talked with their council, talked with the Lions Club out there. We've already looking at using the Lions to donate some money out there with Standard on their sports days to get a couple of enhanced policing positions during that sports days, because they had a rash of problems out there in the last few years. And that's one example of how just getting to get in and speak to the different clubs, hopefully we can be more involved and make it a safer community. The last thing in regards to that is obviously we have emergency services golf tournament, which we'll be holding on June 21st this year. Councillor Hamilton is involved since the beginning, and obviously we invite all of you, and we know you've always supported it, so I appreciate that, and the committee does. Those funds go to VSU, and we usually donate approximately $2,000 to a charity in town from the proceeds that we raise in that tournament. In the last 6 years, we've raised approximately $75,000, so it's a fairly decent golf tournament that we do. The final thing is the staffing action with regards to the staff sergeant's position here. I've been acting in the position, trying to work with things, and that position is going to probably be going dealt with probably by sometime between March and April. Hopefully that the person who gets the position will be named, and then it just depends on transfers and when they can get here or whatever. So other than that, that does it for me. I hope I didn't take too long. If there's any questions.
Thank you very much. Any questions from council? You only said final about 8 times.
Yeah.
And I invite you all, if at any time, if you have questions about anything, please come to my office or call me, and we can more than feel free to.
One more thing is, I've never wore women's shoes, have you?
No. But that's not what I'm Thank you.
Thank you very much. Five to page 21, Family Center Press Box Design.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just threw them there on the floor.
Thank you.
That's weird.
Thank you. Go ahead. Could you state your names, please?
My name is Wayne Hanson. I'm the president of Strathmore Minor Hockey. I'm also the chair of the 2013-2014 Alberta Cup. To my left is Brad Hammond. He's Strathmore Minor Hockey's treasurer, as well as director at large. He also is responsible for, he works for Westcor Construction, and I'll let him get into a little bit of what his background is with regards to the press box and how his expertise falls in, but he also sits on the Alberta Cup committee with us, so as a volunteer.
Thank you. Do we have Tracy Simpson?
And I also sit on the Alberta Cup board as a accounting employee.
Thank you. Go ahead. Who's going to be first?
I guess I could speak quickly. When Strathmore Minor Hockey got awarded the Alberta Cup, one of the pre-qualifications to meet the Alberta Cup guidelines is we needed a press box. It'll accommodate a few more people than the little one in the corner. It's accommodating for the music and sound that goes on right now, but the Alberta Cup, we need a bigger press box. So Wayne came back in July and brought it up to yourselves that there's two options what we could do. There's a permanent one or a temporary one. Temporary press box can be built, like we get it built out of kind of a steeplejack shoring systems down in the one corner. So that can be done. I can put a temporary one in for the weekend. It's big stage dance floor is set up just like they do at a concert, I guess you could say. And we'll tear it down on Sunday night, and it's all said and done. And we start again in 2014. So Wayne brought to myself the possibility of putting in a permanent press box at the end of the rink or somewhere in the facility on the gold side of the rink. So with myself, I've been in the construction industry for about 15 years. I'm on the board, so I put together a package that would resemble what it would take to put in a permanent press box. It's more than what was, well, not more. Back when Wayne discussed about putting in a press box, $10,000 towards construction was awarded in July's meeting. When it really comes down to a permanent press box is a substantial amount of money, but then it's a substantial structure that will be placed at the end of the arena if approved. So I did it in two versions of it. There's one which would be a solid, what I'm proposing is a steel structure that will be bolted onto the existing facility, the structure below, and it would tie off on the end of the mezzanine there, the stairs at the far end. So really, the picture says more than anything. It would come straight off the back of the stairs, the dual arena. So that pretty much summarizes where I'm going to bring it off. And so this is kind of a thought that came through Alberta Cup. We ran it up to the whole board. Some design has been completed. We went through some design, some structural steel design has been completed. Some conceptual drawings have been completed to represent to yourselves. So today we're coming to see if this is something that the town is willing to move forward to, and then how we can move forward to the construction of it is easy part, I guess you could say. That takes a couple weeks of time, 3 weeks of time once everything's a go. It's the setting up, making sure the town's happy with where the location is, how it looks, finalize the design, making sure the permits go through. Once that section's done, then the construction's easy part type thing. You know what I mean? 2 weeks later, we'll have steel in and concrete done or wood or whatever. So today I'm here to present both options for a permanent press box at the north end, over top of the Zamboni roof. So, anything else for me?
No, I think the biggest thing that one of the feelings that we got from council originally was that the facility that's there now is just not workable. It's old, it's out of date. There's no room to even what we need to do on a daily basis, with whether it be the Wheat Kings or whether it be ourselves with the Bisons, or even some of our minor hockey to have some of the bigger events. The press box just doesn't accomplish what it needs to. So there became a need when I originally talked to Rocky at the beginning, was to try and do something permanent that would give us the ability to host bigger events for various things, and not just hockey, whether it be bring out figure skating, whatever. And so that's how we got on this path to come up with a permanent structure, and these are the prices that we're at. One of the things that has been brought to our attention is there's grants available. We're prepared to put the work into getting the grants, but that takes time, as everybody here knows. So in the meantime, this isn't something that the town can apply for. It's something that Tracy sent to me. It's from Alberta Lottery. They have a matching grant of up to $75,000 for nonprofit organizations to do renovations on facilities. So whether it be recreation facilities or whatever else. Brad, who deals with grants all the time, read through it. I've read through it. Tracy's been through it. We don't see any reason why we wouldn't qualify. It's just a case of getting it all done up and getting it submitted. But we don't have time for that in order for our event to happen. So we're prepared to go that way, but we need council now to decide if they want to go one of these two ways, at which point council's already approved a audio system change for the building. We would roll that into this grant as well, this application, to help get money back for that as part of the minor hockey proposal for this. Tracy has she has experience in dealing with this, so she would help us put it together on behalf of the town, but eventually it would have to be myself and our board with Strathmore Minor Hockey would have to sign off on it and apply for the grant, and that's where it would come from. So that's certainly where we're going to look to try and get a bunch of the funding from.
Thank you. Any questions from council? Councilor Best?
I'm just wondering, I look at the December 17th quote that you gave us and the one from today, and today's is about 3,500 or 7% higher, and I'm just wondering why that is in the course of 1 month.
We actually went through and did the structural design. So the structural design, the original budget was this kind of structural company doing his best budget until the structural design was done. That was one of them. And so then I also talked about the sprinkler certification went up. That went up a little bit too. So between the two of them, that went up $3,100.
You'll see on the wood structure, there's a reason why there's not as big a difference as one would think. When you change the base to wood as compared to steel and concrete, and that being with wood, we've got to do fireproofing underneath, sprinkler system.
Well, the sprinklers are coming regardless.
All that adds, especially and then the non-slip floor to go on top of the wood is purely for safety. So by the time you add all that up, talking about $6,000 difference.
Just one question I got to Tracy is that the Strathmore District Agriculture Society applies for that same grant every year. I believe is it the same grant? If they get it, would that eliminate us?
The Ag Society?
Yeah.
It wouldn't eliminate us just because we're both in the same community. It might limit the amount that each organization gets. We would want to send as much funding to one community. But it would depend on how many grants they get in that quarter.
Does our administration, does our request supersede anybody else for grant money?
The funding that we're talking about, we don't qualify as a town to
Yeah.
apply.
No, we don't.
This is strictly nonprofits.
Yeah. We can't apply.
I realize that, but so is the Ag Society, a nonprofit.
Yes. One doesn't take priority over the other.
So who gets?
The Ag and the Lottery.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Gill.
Well, I don't have a question, but I just would like to say I'm in support of this if we can find the funding, because it's going to take us a few years before we can get more ice surfaces or another arena. And if we can do anything we can to upgrade and improve this one to be used for a lot of events, if we can find the funding, I'd love to see this thing happen.
One of the things that I noticed when I was reading the grant funding, we as minor hockey are doing this one, we have Alberta Cup is the primary kicker in the pants, I guess you could say. But what's the funding that I read, that what does this bring to the community? Something that Tracy and I would have to do, and what I was thinking also too is this, what does this do? So I talked to my son's in the double A board, or plays double A, and I was talking to one of the coaches and we're showing it, because that'd be great. What a place to watch evaluations instead of, you know what I mean? It'd be more used for, there's more ways just to use it than just a press box, I guess, for one event. You could sit there. I say, who might lose a little bit of seating? Not many, but the top little bit of quarters might not see the best in that quarter if you look at the architectural drawing. But then I was thinking, who do I know there? A few old chaps who would sit there for 15 years watching hockey. Well, maybe they could be sitting out in the press box if that's the case too. It's another maybe a granted place to sit for handicap, might be a little more accessible and easier to sit and view it that way too. So that could be for any sport, I guess it's in there. In a sense, you know what I mean? Dance recitals, and maybe they can play their music up there for figure skating recital or figure skating stuff, because the music will be there. The press box, the sound system will have speakers that are. The sound system will be able to accommodate to this place too. Like I will have extra conduit in just so they can run stuff when they need to up there. I got power that can tie in so they can hook up whatever they need to at the press. A few percent too. So the Alberta Cup was a starter, but it could benefit anybody in the gold side right now.
Could that be used for figure skating judging as well? Would they judge from there?
Sure.
Okay.
You can see the whole ice. Very clearly you can see the whole ice.
Yeah, the design of the design of the press box, the intent of it was to allow for the best viewing without interrupting the seating capacity along the building, because for a lot of events, including Alberta Cup, seating is a major priority. So whether it's, like I said, whether it's any provincial competition, whether it's for figure skating or for regatta or whatever, they have minimums that they have to meet, and we're usually right about the bottom of that, the 700-800 seating that we have. So if you lose any seats to have to build a temporary structure in there, you really limit the events that you can bring into the
Councillor Sobel.
Thank you, Your Worship. Please don't take any offense. The design's beautiful, but is this the only quote you have?
I put it all together. I didn't put it together.
This, the reason for doing this, a lot of this in here, a lot of the materials are being provided at cost.
Yeah, we just have some laws we got to obey, though. Do we not need?
Policy is the tender.
Yeah.
So there's two things about how I can do it. I, as a company, since I run a company that knows how to put a budget together, I put it has my letterhead on it. Us as a board, how we go out to people, like if a volunteer was willing to put, if we can get 3 volunteers willing to put the plywood on, you don't have to hire my company, or we don't have to. But as a budget purposing wise, if you can't rely on volunteers all the time for stuff like that, there's ways to do it. But I've been asked to put something together to accommodate what the budget would be.
And it's greatly appreciated. It's just we have some laws that we have to obey, and as a council, there's laws. It's not policy; it's laws in this province. So I think this has to go to tender, isn't that if it's over?
Yes.
It's sad. It's just under the Municipal Government Act. That's just the way it is.
And that's
Yeah. Any comments from council? Tracy, did you have some, Tracy?
Yeah, I just wanted to, the grant application is a great way to go, but just to keep in mind there's another option. We could look at getting a sponsorship for the press box.
putting it out to the local communities on behalf of the town to sponsor the cost of the box for naming rights and free advertising on the structure itself. It's not something that the Alberta Cup can do because it's not their facility or structure. So it's another route to go to for funding.
So what is the timelines on this again?
Well, Alberta Cup is here. Everything has to be in place by the beginning of April.
Of this year?
Correct.
Councillor Rocky.
Your worship, through the chair to Tracy here, did I understand Wayne correct? Obviously that, if you apply for that particular grant, it's not going to be here in time, right? Probably not.
The grant that we would be applying for, the deadline is the end of March, I believe it was.
So what's the scenario here? The town, we're going to front the money on this and then
Correct.
work it back in?
And then once it's approved and the check is issued to Higher Hockey, a check would be for that amount would be issued to the town.
Thank you.
To help that out, like I said, that's what Wayne brings in, the speaker systems, it's already been approved. Apply for the grant, take the grant to the fullest, and it all comes back.
What's the guarantee that we'll get the grant even? There is no
That's
guarantee.
the only thing, there's no guarantees. They say. Sounds, everything I read about this is we fit the qualifications, except for, you don't know what guarantees are.
Councillor Fuel.
Since we have to go to a tendering process, how does this fit in as far as the timeline for the Alberta Cup?
I have to debate how I'm gonna, the tendering process, like I said, I don't know if I wanna go to a tender to do all of it, or to break it down to 3 little tenders. The biggest structure is the steel. You know what I mean? And then the littler things are pretty relative, like, I could break it out as 8 little different tenders and bring it all back in, or you go with one big tender with 4 generals. But
I guess my question is, do we still have time with the tendering process, whichever way you go, to get this
it would
in?
be very tight. It'd be very tight. When I look at the schedule that's attached, I'd be going out to tender at the same time as I do building permit review. We have to have everything in place for, pre-construction and steel fabrication, 22nd of February. So the concept has to be approved first. Tendering would fit into place. I'd have to see how I would do it. Like I said, as my company putting forward the stuff that, there's volunteer stuff that goes through the concrete. Think about the tendering makes it difficult for folks. If you look at the concrete package, there's 2 things about tendering. Tendering means people want to get paid everything as a project, I guess you could say. If you look at the tendering quotes, I got a firm quote from a company that I use in Calgary, Champion Concrete. His cost would be about $1,950. He said he would do it for $900. Berco said they would match probably half, if not more, of the concrete. But I just had to talk to the retailers, at least give you half of it off. So there's $1,000 for the concrete in it. I did it for half price, just by donations. The finishing, if I talk to local people in time, I would hope I could get that. So there's a tough thing about tendering. If it's 1,200, it's done. If we, I guess it should be worded on, it should take the letterhead off, say Westport, and say this is a budget. And then we as a group would try to find who would do concrete finishing for us. And maybe a gentleman could do it. You know what I mean? There's 2 things I have to do. I have to meet grants, we also have to have donations. Money has to be squandered. You don't have to have a 50-50 value up, but if we donate $1,000 at the time, that $1,000 goes to the donation part of it, okay? So there is donations being done in here that tendering might not be the tendering people want to get paid as per design, as per stuff. Does that make sense, Bob?
It does, and don't think for a second that I don't appreciate this. I can see what you've done here, and it's, but the problem is that I can't be party to breaking the law.
No. So We agree 100%. So we need to figure out, I guess, a way to move things along. So I guess in order for it to go out to tender, we need to have the drawings.
Could I suggest that we approve the drawing in principle as they stand today, and then perhaps during the next week you can work with administration and try to put something together that we might be able to work with?
That, I think we did the best with the said. As a company, I put in a letterhead for Brad to give me someone to say, here's a proper budget. As construction of this thing, my company, it really wouldn't even be my company, it'd be me. Kind of putting the time in, there's no charge for replacement. But if I need 2 carpenters out here, I would get them. If I don't, I can get 2 carpenters, these values go to 0. You go up to tender, there's no donation parts to it. So that's the fine line of how I have to word this, and I just want to say that's why I say it's a budget. You gotta be prepared not to, as a volunteers board, I don't want to be prepared saying, I'm gonna get volunteers to do this, 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 and this.
Yeah.
And then it doesn't happen, and then we're all looking at it going, well, thought we could. You prepare for the worst, and you work to save a lot of money. Them are the only 2 ways you do it in some senses.
The only thing I would like to suggest is that I know that grant money is very important if there's a lot of volunteer work involved. They look at that very much so. And secondly, is there a way we can do this in phases?
You mean the whole project?
Yeah, I mean, phase it.
I don't think so.
No?
I think it needs to be done.
No, I realize that, but bill in phases, if you know what I mean.
I think it'd be hard. But I can't see why we couldn't sub it out in small pieces. In other words, we can still save money and get it done.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Phase of the payment side of it in some senses.
Councillor Rocky.
Thanks, Your Worship. Through the chair to Brad, you mentioned that we're working on some pretty short timelines here. You mentioned when you started about a temporary press box.
Yeah.
What would the cost factor be on that?
It'd be $5,000-6,000 pretty easily.
For the tournament, like.
For the tournament, yeah, for the rental on the weekend. And I'd have to do that twice.
Councillor Best.
Through the chair to the CAO, tendering, with it being a private group that's doing it. If they're coming to us for money to pay us back, that's a different scenario. If they're doing it, do they have to go through tendering?
We'll look into it.
Thank you.
Okay.
There's a couple options that we've discussed with Tracy, and I guess that's something that we need to discuss with administration. Kind of things in kind. There's going to be a nice bill. So minor hockey pays for that, or the Alberta Cup, right? There's just things that we can do on our end, right?
That's what I mean. Yeah.
That we can kind of move through, and that's not necessarily something for this meeting.
Hey, Tracy, would you like to speak to it?
The only other thing I was going to add to what Wayne was saying is that if we run the event properly and successfully, we'll also make a profit, which could be another option that we can talk about the costs.
I mean, certainly, the intention of this event, don't get me wrong, is to make a profit. And from the response just in the community with regards to volunteers and with regards to sponsorship, that is certainly going to happen. Alberta Cups, yeah, we don't really know. Our intention with this was always to take 20% of the proceeds of the profits of this event and put it into what we call a facility fund, which would be earmarked for getting the process started on building a new facility, rec facility in the town. And not something just for hockey, but something that would be all encompassing with regards to soccer and everything else. So that was kind of our intention, as I mentioned to Councillor when we first started talking, but it was just our way of being able to convert some of the funds back and get this thing started. We know it has to happen, but money has to come from somewhere. And minor hockey via the Alberta Cup are willing to try and make this happen.
Any other comments? We know your wishes. What are council's wishes?
I'd like to make a motion, Your Worship. I'd like to move that council approve the designs for the Family Center press box, and as noted in the 1001 design, which is the concrete press box. And I think I'll leave it right at that, Your Worship, at this point.
Okay, y'all heard the motion. Any discussion?
I wondered through the chair to Council Sobel, whether you want to do that in principle or.
No, I like the design, and I don't see any reason why we can't approve the design. It's needed, and we just got to figure out how to pay for it. That's all. And the problem is the timeline is what's killing us right here.
So you're not approving, you're only approving the
design.
Design only?
Yes.
At this point?
We're not approving the principle of the project in principle.
Councilor Field.
And I agree with Councilor Sobel and Councilor Rempel. If we approve the design, that's great. And then if we can look at your group as a separate group, if you can meet with admin and figure out a way that you guys could do and find your company to build it, that would be a great idea.
My question and Wayne's question is grants or something we work through as a volunteer with filling all this stuff out is, and we get this down to a hard cost, budgeted out, let's say, what kind of support is there 8 months from now when it's all said and done? We went through it, we paid for staff. And a grant has no guarantee, that's my question.
And the grant, pardon me?
And the grant, for some reason, isn't gone through. And I don't know how to say it differently besides that there's no guarantees.
Yes.
So, like, we'll go through the design, we'll have to talk about it, but how do we approach the next step then?
It'd be a special resolution by council for the money if they were to approve it. That's for sure.
All right, that's all we can ask.
There's no money in the budget for that now. Yeah.
Besides, there's no tents.
Any other question by council?
The 10's there, right?
Pardon me? The 10,000 is there, yeah. The 10's in the budget, yeah.
And I think that goes, like you said, through the grant thing, that'd be one of the line items. If that's part of the donations or comes back now, how we get the funding great.
Thank you. Any further discussion on the motion? Questions? Not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, folks.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Strathmore Assembly of Youth, Town of Strathmore Pathways Mapping.
You do whatever you want. Sure.
Well, he's late in the agenda. No? Okay.
Good evening, Your Worship, fellow Strathmore citizens and councillors. We're here today to represent the Strathmore Assembly of Youth. In one of our meetings last year, Mayor Steve and Councillor Sobel brought up an issue that we should look into researching. So all the pathways that we have in Strathmore and something that we can do with those. So currently we have over 20 kilometers of multi-use pathways in our community. And the project that we've been looking into is a cell phone application of the multi-use pathways system that Strathmore has to offer. So our main goals for this project are to encourage citizens in Strathmore to use what the town has to offer. And this should ultimately get rid of some of the Strathmore has nothing to do complaints. I would like to stress our reasons for being here tonight. First and foremost, we're here for your approval. So any feedback or constructive criticisms you would like to offer, that's the first reason we're here. The second reason, if you choose to do so, would be some financial contribution. That would also be greatly appreciated.
So continuing as to what the application will do, we're looking to have it, these pathways that the county already invested in the construction of, and I would also work to encourage healthy living lifestyles of the community. And also would work to make the pathways more accessible and identifiable, as well as finding them, figuring out where they are, where they go, and where you can get them. And by creating both an online version, which would work on the smartphone application, and a printout version, just to make it accessible to all members of the community, both young and old. And it will also add to encourage the variety of the use of the pathways beyond just walking, include cycling, dog walking, jogging, that everyone would so choose.
So, an app is a program that can launch a smartphone. And projects similar to this have been undertaken in the city of Calgary and the city of Edmonton. In this app, we would like to include specific features such as time tracking and speed tracking, specific routes you can take throughout the town, distances, the surface type, etc. That is what your specific features.
Another feature that we've gone over would be the ideas, including potential sponsorship from local communities in the area that would work with GPS programming and application. And so, for example, if you're walking through downtown, they'll pop up saying, here's Rockies, here is any other areas in downtown where you can eat, see a movie, etc. And that will work with the application to tell you what is in the community as you go by and as it's passed, so you know where that is. And that can also work for sponsorships to look into the cost of the building of the app.
So I'm going to run quickly through the technical jargon. Basically, the main reason why this is so expensive before I get to the cost is it takes a professional to do this. Yes, we could put together something that may or may not work, but at the end of the day, it's going to be garbage and nobody's going to use it. So it's a waste of time and money. So because of that, the process to build an app takes 8 to 10 weeks or about 200 man-hours. That's the one quote we've received. So this is a huge project. We've reached out to a couple of developers, and that's kind of the timeline they've given us. So for that, that would include the initial sitting down as a group with the developers, which could include council, to narrow down our feature set and pick the specifics that we want to focus on, put into the application. Beyond that, they work through the process of building it. There's bi-weekly updates that get sent out. So they're beta versions that can be used to track the progress of the app and kind of see how it's coming along. And then at the end of that 10 weeks, there's 2 to 2.5 weeks of intense testing to make sure that everything that we want is included and that it works properly and can be used for years to come. So because of that, it's going to cost between $15,000 and $25,000. 15, not 50. So we've reached out to a couple of companies, and that's kind of the rough estimate that they've given us. Like I said, it takes a lot of work, but this is something that could be used for years to come and can be continually updated as the pathway system evolves.
And as far as updates, that's one of the challenges that maybe come across that we'll have to work through with the developer. The challenges that will have to come over will include the actual time including the creation of the application and as well as the paper copy, spreading of the word so that the community knows about the application, which we intend to be moving if we were on social networking as well, hopeful information available on the town website. And as well as some of the pathways do not completely connect, and so we're hoping for the potential of signage to be in place or to include that information in the application itself.
So like we said, we're here mostly for your constructive criticism or a little bit of feedback, approval, because in order to go forward with this, we need a couple of things. The town does have all the GPS data already in its arsenal of computer stuff, so that could be used to use this app. We're kind of looking for the approval of that, and then, like we said, if you're able to contribute a little bit of money. Last year, you gave $3,000 per group, and something like that were to be matched, that would be greatly appreciated.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any questions from council? Councillor Best, sorry.
I guess that's part of my question with the financials, Jonah, is are you planning to approach businesses to also help with funding of the app?
Yeah, so our original intention was that council would come install, but after a little bit of reconsideration, in some initial reaction, we realized that that's probably not the best way to go. So we would be looking for either private donations, sponsorship for business through the use of advertising, or donations from community service groups.
Thank you. Councillor Rempel.
I saw some of the comments, the posts on Facebook, and it sounded quite favorable. People seemed to be quite interested in buying into the system, so to speak. Now, we have basically allotted in our budget certain projects for 2013. Is this something that you wanted to do in 2013, or could it wait until 2014?
Our goal was to have this project completed by June of this year. Because we are a school-based group, many of us will be moving on, so we wanted to kind of wrap up this project this year as our first success as a group.
So if we were to only do 3/4 of the way around Kinsman Lake to pave it, would you be in favor of that and give you the rest of the balance of that money?
So, I guess basically this is just our initial outreach. Like we said, the funding is kind of the secondary. We can move forward on this project without the funding, but of course it's always greatly appreciated to have that backing to start with.
What would you like from us to proceed with this program?
We're looking for $2,000, and also the understanding that once this application is developed, that would be able to, ownership would be transferred on, and that hopefully it would be maintained and updated as the community grows.
Go ahead, Councillor Hamilton.
Have you got any money in the bank yet?
We have a little, yeah, we have some money left over from last year, along with some donations that we received.
Have you, is this the first group that have you approached other groups prior to coming to council?
No, this was our first presentation. Like I said, we kind of need the approval that we could pass it on to you afterwards, as I don't believe as a nonprofit we can own anything, and that you'd be able to provide from that.
Thank you, Councillor Sobel.
I'm not that familiar with the programming end of this, and I'm just wondering, like, I appreciate you've gone to some program. I'm sorry, was that me? Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. You've gone to some professional programmers. Do any of those exist in town? Like, I'm just trying to think to cut costs. If there was, as a result of your attendance here, if a programmer in town was to offer some his or her downtime to assist with this, would they have that capability of doing something along this nature? I know this is a big project.
Like I mentioned, this is something that we've reached out to 2 development companies.
Okay.
One is called Random House. They are based in Calgary, along with Vertical Motion, and they have experience with this kind of development. So
okay.
That's where we went first. So they are basically quite gung-ho on this project and have provided lots of technical background on this.
Sorry about that, Councillor, but okay.
No, that's, I'm sorry, I thought you may have asked someone else to speak.
Councillor Rocky.
Thank you, Your Worship. I like your guys' attitude. Some of you should sit on this side of the bench here coming up. You mentioned corporate and business sponsorship, which I think is a good idea. Did you have in mind signage along these routes for like businesses that would be supporting certain pathways, or?
I don't know if we've discussed that potentially yet. We're looking more into the advertising link for the application.
Right.
So it'd be interactive in that as you walk by each local business, it would say, this is who is here, this is what they provide, and any other such information that business wants to provide.
Okay, thank you.
Any further questions? So you had mentioned the town, you needed something from the town.
Yeah, so we were looking for the GIS data, and we have had some conversations with Jesse Parker.
Jesse, can you comment on that? Is that a cost just to give it to him, or you're going to do that? Oh.
You got it. Your Worship, if I could, this is a great idea. Let's we're pushing health, we're pushing walkability, I mean, I've been at meetings for the last year that dealt with things that focused on exactly what these guys are trying to do. So I think it's a great idea, and I think we should be supporting them in this effort.
I know that Calgary does it, and it's extremely popular in Calgary. I have friends who are much skinnier than me that use it all the time. So you're looking for approval for the GIS and the motion, and what's council's thoughts? I mean, I don't know if we get any money out of pathways. Do we have money out of pathways? Can we take it out of there?
Well, it's set up for a particular purpose, so we'd have to discuss it.
You need it pretty quickly because
we're hoping to move on with the project in the next couple of weeks, hopefully. So after this, we'll start the process of trying to find some donations that we can move forward with the development company to be finished by the end of June.
we have a meeting in a couple of weeks, I believe. Councilor, when is our next meeting? First week in February. So is that soon enough? Councilor Field?
I just had a question through the chair to Jesse. Can you refresh my memory as to how much we've budgeted for the Kinsman Lake paved pathways?
I believe it was 180,000.
And we don't really know how we're going to do financially on that, if we're going to come in under budget or if we've budgeted more? Okay.
Councilor Best?
Through the chair to our CAO, reserves. We've got to have $3,000 somewhere. I don't think $3,000 is a great deal of money to give these kids right now. To me, this is a very worthwhile project, and if all they're looking for is basically 1/8 of the cost of, I'm pretty sure that we should be able to come up with that.
We could come up with the 3. What if they can't raise the rest?
Well, there has
How
to
do we
be.
do
That's
it?
up to them.
There has to be a. Obviously, they wouldn't be able to start this project without there. So there has to be a condition on that 5. Or I'm sorry, did I say 5? Slip of the
I know
tongue.
what you're saying.
To have it returned to us if the project doesn't go ahead. That would have to be in a motion, I would imagine.
So you're going to go to developers also that are existing? Is that my understanding?
Yes.
And businesses?
And I just wanted to clarify, the cost would definitely be closer to $15,000 end. The 2 companies that we contacted that gave us thorough proposals were more that way. The one email that we got was just be $25,000 and that's the end of it. So they don't seem interested anyways.
Have you checked to see if there's special grant money for this?
No, we haven't looked into grants yet. That would definitely be another option.
Okay. What's council wishes?
Well, I agree with Councillor Best. I think if we can find some funding in the reserves and then put a contingency, put a condition on it that if you're not able to achieve what you want to do, then the monies are returned. And I hate you, Councillor Sobel.
So the motion will read what? And you got to have the GS statement in that motion, please. I allotted everybody 10 minutes, and we've been.
Yeah. Are you looking for a motion?
Yes.
I move that council. Before I move the motion, I'd like to give them a good head start on this, and I don't say this lightly, but I would like to put that number to 5,000. Just simply that would give them half of that. Then half of their funds are in line as a result of the town, and then they're responsible for the other half. And before I make a motion, maybe I'll leave that open to discussion.
Councilor Best.
Your Worship, we just had a group come in who was looking for money for something else, and basically have told them to come back for something else. We now have a group in front of us who is asking for 3,000, and that's what I'm prepared to say yes to. I'm certainly not prepared to say yes to more money than that, being as that they asked for 3,000. That's where I think we should be.
Further comments?
You already have 4,000. Is that correct?
We have that in the bank left over when we started the group.
From the grant Wilson.
Okay.
And I know there's one developer I give you a name who's willing to put some funds in, so. But whether you're gonna raise to 25,000 or whatever it is, then
50.
what could be more, right? Motion was it?
Well, I just had one comment. I like I've pushed for pathways and parks in my election campaign, so I know they've come asking for 3, but I could easily live with the 5,000 with the rider that if you're not able to succeed, then it comes back to us. So.
Or you'll get it when you need it. One of the two.
Well, my goal is to get them half. So if I thought they had 3 in the bank, they got 4. So I'll make a motion. See where it goes. I'll make a motion that town supplies the say with necessarily GPS material required for this project, and that an amount of $4,000 be given to them in regards to this project. Same to be returned to town should the project not proceed by the end of 2013.
Is it GPS or GIS?
GIS, sorry.
Yeah. Okay. Did you say $4,000?
4.
Okay. Y'all heard the motion. Any further discussion? Not all in favor? Opposed? One opposed. Thank you very much. Good presentation. Don't give up.
Thank you.
And Rocky's willing to give up his seat for you, he told me.
I'll go get some money.
Yeah.
5-4, Mr. Dennis Pfeiffer, the traffic problems on Cambridge Glen Drive. 10 minutes, please. We're really running behind schedule. Thank you.
Evening, Dennis.
Your worship, council members, I've been asked to speak on behalf of the residents of the 100 block of Cambridge Glen Drive. And what they've actually asked.
Can you hear back there, everybody?
No.
Is the mic turned on? You may have to grab the mic right out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I'll just move over in front of it.
Great, thanks.
There, how's that better?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, your worship, council members, I've been asked to speak on behalf of the residents of the 100 block of Cambridge Glen Drive. And the reason for the addressing you is the dangerous driving conditions we have on our street. The research that I have and will provide to you tonight is that the 100 block of Cambridge Glen is becoming very dangerous. Since 2006, we've had 7 motor vehicle accidents in our little corner of the world. We've had 1 near miss on a pedestrian. Since August of 2012, to December the 24th of 2012, we had 4 motor vehicle accidents. All these incidents have occurred within a 500-foot span of the approach going into H-Care. Now, I did have your administration staff present you with a small map, and I'd like you to refer to this map. This is the one. And my wife and I, we moved out to Cambridge Glen Drive in 2008. So some of the information I have here, I had to get from some of the longer term residents there. And in the year 2006, 2007, the fire hydrant was struck in both successive winters and knocked off its foundation, which EPCOR had to replace. In 2007, a motorist lost control northbound, crossed the residence lawn at 135 Cambridge Glen Drive, crossed the lawn, over the driveway, and total lost the man's 2 vehicles in his driveway. Things were relatively quiet there until 2010, and again we had a truck struck, and there was damage on that one. Things were relatively quiet until then. In 2012, it appeared that the wheels fell off out there. And what we had was a southbound vehicle lost control, crossed the sidewalk southbound, went over the lawn, nearly missed the power box, went over the boulevard, into the northbound lane, struck a parked vehicle, and sent this vehicle up on top of the sidewalk. Now, the problem and the scary part of all this is the vehicle that was sitting there, had it not been there, the lady that has a 2-year-old child who's sitting in the audience here right now, her child could have very well been hit. So the blocker was her parked vehicle. In August of 2012, we had a parked truck on our street that was southbound. A motorist come around the corner and struck the back end of that truck, sending it straight ahead. Needless to say, the fellow doesn't park anymore because he's working on H-Care. A vehicle in November of 2012 come around the corner at this intersection, going into H-Care, lost control and slid into the construction fence. On December the 24th, Christmas Eve, there was a parked car northbound. A vehicle come down the street, lost control, hit the vehicle at such a great speed that it sent the vehicle up on top of the sidewalk, nearly missing the power box northbound. This one here is kind of in the middle, and it actually goes back to November of 2012. There's a couple of, we just finished walking down that particular part of the street, or the sidewalk, and as they walked into their house, they observed a vehicle lose control, cross the corner of their sidewalk, up onto their driveway, and kept right on going. And from what they told me, the vehicle never did slow down. Now, if you look on your map, you'll see numbers from 1 to 9. And basically, if you look in that area, it's all in that one little corner that we're having problems. Now, as you all are aware, or may not be aware, Cambridge Glen Drive is one of the narrowest streets that we have in town here. I look at it, and if I looked at the way it's developed, and I gave it, say, a score of high of 10, being good, 1 not good, I'd give it a 0, because it is a dangerous street. In January of this year, in fact, January 11th, vehicle lost control again, same intersection, and slid up against the construction fence sideways. Same intersection. On January 13th, and the tire marks, they were there until it started to melt the other day, for another vehicle coming around the corner and slid up against that same fence. Now, it appears that that intersection, or the way they designed that whole area is the configuration of it is just way too narrow. And what's happening is these people are losing control coming around this corner. Now, I did a couple studies, and one I started last August, when I drove the length of Cambridge Glen Drive from Centennial Drive all the way down to Brent. And I drove it with my foot covering my brake because I felt uncomfortable. But when it was dry, I drove that vehicle at 50 kilometers. That particular street is 50 kilometers an hour. And it took me 50 seconds. After the accident on the 24th of December, I drove it at 30 kilometers an hour. It took me 35 seconds longer. Now, I took the good graces of your bylaw department. Radar was right up on our street. And the fastest speed they could come up with here 2 weeks ago was 41 kilometers an hour. So looking at the big picture, I don't think that a speed limit being lowered on our street is a feasible thing. Because the way I look at it, speed limits are only good for the amount of people that you got out enforcing them. And that's basically one of the resources. I've seen people sitting out there 24/7. So in a nutshell, what we're saying here is that we've got major problems out there. Now, as I understand it, in fact, there's one couple sitting behind us here. The neighbors beside them moved off of our street last year because of the concerns for their little kids that were playing on the sidewalk. The people that are sitting here right now, when I canvassed their door, they said this year they're thinking of selling their house because they have 3 little tykes that they're afraid are going to get hit on our street. So basically, I want to continue on with my presentation because His Worship said I only have 10 minutes. So basically what I've seen for now, where my residence is and working in my yard, I am retired, I observed how many near misses, people coming out of aged care, whether it's delivery trucks going in and out, or the residents that have vehicles there. And according to Mr. Amir Rajani, and I apologize if I'm mispronouncing his name, he said he has 25 people there that are
are driving in and out of that particular intersection off and on every day. Now, when I had the meeting with him, he went on to say that at approximately 3 o'clock in the afternoon, he has shift changes there. The staff, depending what the day is, the shift change can be as high as 30 staff members at a time. We also at that time have children that are walking home from school on that same street. We've got people from aged care that are driving in and out of there. We have delivery trucks driving in and out of there. We have young people walking home from school. We have the traffic that's going northbound, southbound on the Cambridge Glen Drive. My friends, we have a recipe for disaster there, and it's going to take a matter of time before somebody is killed out there, as far as I'm concerned. Now, he went on to say also that until phase 2 comes online, which is going to be this year in August, September, his staff will increase. Now, from 30, we've automatically gone to 60 staff. He also has another 102 residents moving into phase 2. Granted, these people are not going to drive vehicles, but they have sons, daughters, and grandchildren driving in and out of there. That could be potentially another 100-some vehicles coming in and out of Cambridge Glen Drive. So what we're basically we're looking at here is we're recommending that at that particular intersection, and given the close proximity of all those numbers I put on that map, we are asking council for a 3-way stop sign at the approach going into aged care. Right now, we have a stop sign coming out of aged care. Last year, when the people were moving in there, I approached your planning department because I could see the near misses that were happening then because people weren't even slowing down. And eventually, we did get a stop sign there. That has alleviated part of the problem. The biggest problem is the people that are going north and south on Cambridge Glen Drive. When I canvassed our street, one mother actually openly admitted that her older son, and she's had, I guess, a very frank discussion with him now, but he said that according to the young people in here, and I'm giving her quotation, she says that our street is known as the long winding road. And for entertainment purposes, it appears that they try and go through these curves as fast as they can. And this possibly relates to the accidents and near misses we're having on our street. So I'm asking at this time for council to become proactive on this one. Grant us those stop signs. We don't know if it's going to work, but at least we got a starting point. If this doesn't work, there are other options, which I'd be quite prepared to discuss with you people later. I've got them documented, but right now, what we are looking for right now is a 3-way stop sign there with a warning stop sign halfway down the block on both sides, warning these people that there are stop signs. On the northbound part of Cambridge Glen Drive, with the configuration of the S's in there, you can't only put a stop sign on the right-hand side of the street. You also must put one in the boulevard. Because when you drive down that street, if there's a person that has a camper parked on the street, you can't see that stop sign. We've got to start controlling the traffic there. Yesterday I took some time and I went and I sat down at the Crystal Ridge parking lot. And I looked at the 4-way stop sign there for 30 minutes. And this was from approximately 1 o'clock to 1:30. 25 vehicles went through that intersection. Out of those 25, 22 actually did stop. We had compliance. 2 merely slowed down and went through. But we broke the cycle of the speed down there. And one person I don't think has the command of the English language because he didn't even want to slow down. So basically what we're looking at here is we need some control out there. We can't have police officers sitting out there. That's impossible. Speed zones are basically for the people that want to abide by them. Case in point, you drive to Calgary, you drive 110, you've got people passing you. However, they don't pass you when there's police officers out there. We don't have that kind of resources, I'm sorry. And you and I think you'd have to agree with me in that regard. So basically what I've basically said to you right now, we do need help in our little corner of the road, because if we don't, I'm afraid we're going to have chaos out there. Somebody's going to get hurt. We've got people already moving off of our street because of the dangers. We've got another couple sitting right back here who have mentioned to me that they are thinking very seriously of selling their house because of the fear of their little kids get hit. The mother of this couple doesn't let her other child walk to school. She drives it to school because she's afraid if that child walks down the street, he's going to get hit. During the course of the summer, we continually see remnants of mirrors laying on the street from trucks that haven't pulled their mirrors in because it is a narrow street.
There's another option, very expensive. We got $2 million, we'll pull the boulevard out of there and the traffic lights, and the lights, and make it a wider street.
Okay, thank you very much, and a very good presentation. I just want to, let's have a show of hands from the audience. Who's involved in this presentation? Thank you very much. And Councillor Fuel and then Councillor Best.
I'm in agreement with you because I live on your street. I'm at 36 and our dog was hit on the street because someone was driving really fast and the dog was sent onto the front lawn. And it's not just speeding. When the road is not plowed, if the snowfall is heavy, you can wind up driving in ruts at a reasonable speed and be pulled over towards where the vehicles are parking. So anything we can do to slow down the speed on that. We moved there in '97 and we were deathly afraid of our kids playing on the front lawn. I've always talked about it as a scary street. I think the design was to make it a very decorative tree street, trees in the middle, but it is a very dangerous road. So I'm willing to try something like your idea of a three-way stop if it can do something to slow the traffic down. And your area is the one where you've got to, I don't have anything mapped out near my house that shows accidents. So you guys are definitely in a tough corner.
And I'd be more than happy to sit with the planning department and take them into the area and show them where I feel that the stop sign should be placed.
Yeah.
And then they could make up their own mind. But as I say, I've lived out there since 2008. I'm one of the more fortunate ones. I kind of sit in the middle.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much.
Yeah, I know I agree with you. It's definitely a dangerous street.
Councillor Best.
Your Worship, we, as council over the past 9 years have set precedent in this area where we have put a stop sign on Center, a three-way stop on Center to slow the traffic down. We put a three-way stop in Hillview to slow the traffic down. We put a four-way stop sign on Brent to slow the traffic down. If you look at the statistics that we've been provided and the dates provided, over a short period of time, there's been numerous accidents in this area. And I certainly would have no problem in putting another three-way stop sign in here to mitigate the fact that we don't want to get people hurt.
Thank you. Any further?
Well, actually, one quick one, Your Worship. I've spoken. First of all, thank you, Dennis, for the presentation. I've spoken to Dennis about this issue and looked at it very closely. And I really sincerely feel that the southbound traffic is going to, that the stop sign at Sagewood is going to have a direct effect on the southbound traffic. I'm not as convinced in the northbound, mainly because I think by the time they're running into that problem around that S, they haven't seen, I don't think they'll have seen the stop sign yet. So I'm not sure, and we may have to revisit this, but I believe this is a good start. But I want to emphasize that I think this is a good start that should be monitored for a while, and we may have to look at something more serious than strictly stop signs, but I'm certainly in favor of the stop signs.
I certainly am also. Any further comments or questions? I'm looking for a motion. Councillor Rocky.
Your Worship, before you get to that motion, this is actually the third town I've lived in the last 30-odd years, 40 years, and quite frankly, I've never seen so many stop signs as we have in this town.
Well, I think, Councillor Rocky, I think maybe we ought to eventually capture them and bring them in here.
So I'm certainly in agreement here. A couple more stop signs up in there, if that helps the problem, that's a good thing. Just wondering if Acting Sergeant Kevin has anything to say on that?
I was asked to pull some stats on the accidents and some of the complaints. So if you need that, that's fine. If you don't, I don't want to waste any time.
I don't think we need it. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Just a question, Your Worship. Would our motion just direct administration to determine where the signs would be?
And yes, and if you want to have your comments with administration, that would be fine.
We're more than happy to anytime.
As long as you don't tell them what to do.
Definitely not.
Okay, thank you. Looking for a motion.
Your Worship, I would move that we institute a three-way stop on Cambridge Glen Drive, the area to be determined by administration. Does that sound reasonable or understandable?
Would you want to define that in front of the drive into the Sagewood?
Okay, so Your Worship, I would move that council put in a three-way stop on Cambridge Glen Drive with the entrance to Sagewood being one of the areas to have a stop sign, and the others to be determined with consultation with administration.
You would move administration, not council, to do it.
Right.
You said council.
Did I say council? I meant administration. Sorry. It's been a long night already.
Is it okay? Thank
It's
you.
early.
You all heard the motion. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for coming in.
Hopefully it'll help.
Yeah.
Does anybody want to take a quick break? 5-minute quick break. Thank you very much. We're going to resume the council meeting 8:45, and I'd like to ask council if I may bring forward item 8.9 because there's some children in the crowd that are going to speak on it, if that's okay with council. So item 8.9, bullying. And who is going to speak to that matter? Jen, you're going to speak to it first?
Your Worship, administration has received a letter from Ms. Carla, sorry, requesting that council implement an anti-bullying bylaw for the town of Strathmore. There are other communities in Alberta that have anti-bullying bylaws, such as Hannah, and there are communities that include anti-bullying provisions in the community standards bylaw. Through this process, administration is actually in the process of developing the community standards bylaw, which we brought forward to council in the near future. It would be beneficial to Strathmore to include an anti-bullying section within this bylaw. And administration is recommending that council instruct administration to create a community standards bylaw and to include an anti-bullying section with the draft bylaw and bring back the council.
Thank you, and I thank you very much. And I ask, you want to speak to it for a moment to it, or just?
My job.
Could you? Yeah. All right. Go ahead. Come up to the mic, please.
Your Worship, I feel that if this bylaw were in effect when I went through my bullying, that it would not have gotten to the extent that it did, and that I would not have gotten to the place that I didn't want to be here anymore.
And your name?
Jade?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jay.
Thank you. Any questions from council?
Actually, just a quick comment, Your Worship. Recent research done by the Canadian Institute of Health shows us that there's up to 47% of Canadian parents reporting having a child a victim of bullying. And among adult Canadians, 38% of males and 30% of females report having experienced occasional or frequent bullying during their school years. I think this is a major issue across our country, and I realize it's only a bylaw, but it's one tool that the police could have to deal with some of these issues. So anything in this regard is, I think, a positive step, and I certainly support this bylaw.
Thank you, administration.
I think the bylaw should go even maybe a little bit further, rather than just say on public property. What about at the ag grounds? What about other places like that? Shouldn't it cover everywhere?
Then the town of Strathmore.
Now, go ahead.
I would have to include it within the town of Strathmore to cover all our bases. You know, one of my kids was subject to bullying too, and I can emphasize it with the parents here.
Except that is there a legal matter to private property? Can you? We'd have to check that out.
I think that you may have to do some work with the legals on this.
But
certainly, and bring it back.
I think it should be all of them.
Me too, but if not, at least I think we can implement the Ag Society because that's public, private public. I think that one is critical because the school's right behind there.
I know.
So make sure that we have the Ag Society because I think we can implement that part of it, but I don't know about private residences. Okay, so maybe check it out, the difference, if you know what I mean. Councillor Best?
Your Worship, if we're just moving to include an anti-bullying section in the draft bylaw, certainly that can cover it. I don't think that we need to go over certain areas and sections right now of town. As long as we're going to have this brought brought to administration to create a community standards bylaw, including anti-bullying, that we can leave it at that point right now. When it comes back, if those clauses are not there, we can worry about it at that time.
I'm just trying to supervisor, let me check this out first, that way we don't want to waste much time on it. Okay, looking for a motion, thank you.
I move that council instruct the administration to create a community standards bylaw and to include an anti-bullying section within the draft bylaw and bring back for council's review.
Thank you very much. Any further comments? If not, all in favor? Carried. Thank you very much, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming in.
Good night.
Bylaw number 61-13, or no, 13, number 13-01, sanitary sewer bylaw, page 39. Mel? You got the floor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Good evening, Council. One of the initiatives presented to Council at workshop was for the utility department to proceed to monthly utility billings. The town is currently on a bi-monthly billing cycle. Just by way of review, we've talked about this before, the bill sent out on November 10th, 2012, had water usage starting as far back as mid-July. For those customers, the usage period was from July 15th to September 15th. Others would have usage starting in mid-August to mid-October, and then billed on November 10th. The objective of changing to monthly utility bills is to bring the time period where water is used closer to the billing date. This means playing catch-up for the utility customers. This should also assist in water conservation, where the customer will be billed for water usage on a more timely basis. Amending bylaw 13-01 also adds clarity and spells out clearly that by shutting off water does not relieve the property owner of the obligation to pay the monthly flat sewer charges. The flat monthly maintenance charge for sewer, both storm and sanitary, is $24.26 per month. The current shut-off fee is $40, and the turn-on fee is also $40. This applies to both involuntary shut-off as a result of non-payment, and for customers that request a shut-off that will be absent for extended periods of time. The wording also provides for the monthly billing. Amending bylaw 13-02 also provides for the property owner to be responsible for charges for waste collection, even though they may be absent from an extended period of time. The amended wording also provides for monthly billing. Amending bylaw 13-03 also provides for the same changes as discussed in the prior two bylaws. However, in this bylaw, reference is made to the billing periods being monthly, the due date being defined as the 10th and 25th of the month, depending on which route the customer is on. Amending bylaw 13-04 provides for the change to monthly billing consistent with the amending bylaws being presented. Because this will be a major change in how the utility department conducts business, the changes will be advertised in the newspaper, on the town website, in the utility inserts, and by way of open house. Because customers will be catching up the bills, the billed amount will be a greater amount than a normal bill that will be due to the fact that it will cover a larger time period on a one-time basis. The utility department will be sensitive to customers' needs and work out arrangements during the implementation period. The water and sewer rates contained within the amendments have not changed. The utility department has also been advertising the use of e-bills. Currently, 423 customers are using that method of billing, saving on stationery and postage. There are comments relating to the amended bylaws in front of us this evening.
Thank you. Any questions from council? I just want to say, wasn't there something we brought forward to bring it to $60?
Your worship, that is for bylaw 13-04.
Wouldn't we make them consistent? Why wouldn't we make them consistent?
Well, normally you shut off the water. If the water's off, they can't do much.
No, with the cost of doing it, I'm saying, from 40 to 60. Wouldn't we make them all
I would
consistent?
recommend that we do it just for 1304.
Yes.
It's just contained within the one bylaw, the $40 shut off and the $40 turn on.
Just for water, right?
But you wouldn't, of course, you wouldn't turn the sewer off, right?
No.
No,
Just turn the sewer off and it wouldn't affect the garbage.
No.
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 But you had mentioned 40 in this one.
I mentioned it when I talked about 1301, yes.
But it doesn't pertain to 1301.
Correct.
Okay. Well, that's the confusing part. All right. Thank you. Any questions, council? Council Day.
I only have one concern, and through the chair now. Are we set up right now to do this, and how much more onus is this going to put on your staff?
When we discussed this at workshop, there is additional cost for the meter reader. He currently does the readings part-time and is paid on a per read basis. So that would double. And we would need some additional help within the office, an additional part-time person.
Your worship, there'd be enough savings by going to monthly to cover that easy.
I understand more than, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any other question by council? Now I'm looking for first reading, first, second, and third reading.
I move that council give first reading to bylaw 13-01 sanitary sewer bylaw amendment bylaw.
Y'all heard the motion. All in favor? Carried. Looking for,
Your worship, I would move that council give second reading to bylaw 13-01 sanitary sewer bylaw amendment bylaw.
y'all heard the motion. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Carried.
And your worship, I would move that council give third and final reading to bylaw 1301 sanitary sewer bylaw amendment bylaw.
Unanimous consent first.
Yeah. This is unanimous consent. Okay. Y'all heard the motion. All in favor? Carried. Now the third reading. By somebody.
Your worship, I move that council give third reading to bylaw number 13-01 sanitary sewer bylaw amendment bylaw.
Thank you. All heard the motion. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Now for that one, 6.2 bylaw number 13-02 waste collection service bylaw. Amended bylaw, page 45. Comments?
No further comments.
Is there any changes on that one?
There are changes. The major changes to move to monthly.
On the sewer, or on the collection?
Correct.
On 13-02?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Your worship, I would move that council give first reading to bylaw number 13-02 waste collection service bylaw amendment bylaw.
You all heard the motion. All in favor? Carried.
I'd move that council give second reading to bylaw number 13-02 waste collection service bylaw amendment bylaw.
You all heard the motion. Any discussion or questions? Not all in favor? Carried.
I'd move that council give unanimous consent to bylaw 1302 waste collection service bylaw amendment bylaw.
You all heard the motion. All in favor? Carried.
Your worship, I would move that council give third reading to bylaw number 13-02 waste collection service bylaw amendment bylaw.
I'll hold the motion. All in favor? Carried. Bylaw, I better get my glasses on here. I'm going to get mixed up. Bylaw number 13-03, water utility service bylaw, amendment bylaw, page 51.
Move that council give first reading to bylaw number 13-03, water utility services bylaw amendment bylaw.
You all heard the motion. All in favor? Carried.
Your worship, I would move that council give second reading to bylaw number 13-03, water utility services bylaw amendment bylaw.
You all heard the motion.
Just a question, your worship. Is this the one that we've got the shut-off charges for?
It's 1304.
1304.
Yeah.
We just, and I apologize.
It's the utility rates in 04.
But this is the water utility. Why?
But there's the utility rates and penalties bylaw.
Okay. Thank you. That's the answer to my question.
I forgot where it was now. All in favor?
Any questions?
Any questions? I was about to ask questions, yeah. This is the second reading. There's no questions. All in favor? Carried.
I move that council give unanimous consent for third reading to bylaw number 13-03, water utility services bylaw amendment bylaw.
You all heard the motion. All in favor? Carried unanimously.
And your worship, I would move that council give third reading to bylaw 13-03, water utility service bylaw amendment bylaw.
You all heard the motion. All in favor? Carried. 6-4, page 61. Bylaw number 13-04, utility rates and penalties bylaw, amended bylaw, page 61. This is the one where we would like to add
Your
the,
worship, on this, the administration recommends that council increase the shut-off charge from $40 to $60 to cover the cost of an operator to go out there, shut it off, and taking the vehicle out and so forth.
so how do you want that worded in there?
We just amend what you already have. And we should vote on that separate as an amendment.
3 times?
No, just once.
Do you want that one first then?
Yeah.
Okay. Motion to add from 40 to 60.
Question to the chair, to administration. Does $60 cover our expenses? Because if we're going to change it, let's change it. If it's currently not covering our expenses, let's change it to a number that will cover our expenses.
Worship, I'll call on Mel for comments.
The thing to keep in mind on this is that on some of the shutoffs, repairs are required. Some of the curb stops occasionally we find faulty and extensive repair work is required at the time of shutoff, where the shutoffs have not been exercised, and we have to engage EPCOR for that repair work, and that can be significant at that time. We would not recover all of the costs of doing those repairs through the $40 or even the $60. The $40 and the $60 is intended to cover time and energy going out, doing the shut-off and returning. And the $60 could possibly recover most of that amount.
So subsequently to that first question, then I guess comment through the chair to Mel. Some of these valves probably have never ever been shut off since they were installed.
Correct.
And so therefore, we would not be able to determine what a break-even point would be.
That's correct.
Thank you.
But I would also like to comment that necessarily may not be the homeowner's fault, the damage on these valves.
No, that's not at all.
Yeah. I'm just throwing that out there, yeah. But I do believe that the increase a little bit, that, it helps out for us to cover our costs somewhat.
Yes.
Any other comments? So we need a motion to go from 40 to 60, number one.
Is that in Schedule A? I'm looking for that, for a fee rate in Schedule A, and I don't find it, but the bylaw says that's where it's supposed to be.
No, I don't see it either.
You got it, Lori? Okay.
It's A402.
A402? Your Worship, I would move that, could I see that, please? Your Worship, I'd move that Section A402 of the bylaw 13-04 be amended to increase the fee for turn on or turn off of water services from $40 to $60.
Y'all heard the motion. Any further discussion or questions? If not, all in favor? Opposed? One opposed. Now we go to the bylaw. I'm looking for a motion to read the actual bylaw with the amendment.
Your Worship, I move that council give first reading to bylaw number 13-04, utility rates and penalties bylaw amendment bylaw.
Y'all heard the motion. All in favor? Carried.
Your Worship, I move that council give second reading to bylaw number 13-04, utility rates and penalties bylaw amendment bylaw.
Y'all heard the motion. Any discussion or questions? If not, all in favor? Carried. Looking for
I move that council give unanimous consent for bylaw 13-04, utility rates and penalties bylaw amendment bylaw.
Y'all heard the motion. All in favor? Carried.
I move that council give third reading to bylaw number 13-04, utility rates and penalties bylaw amendment bylaw.
Y'all heard the motion. All in favor? Carried. That covers all our motions.
Thank you, Mel.
Thank you, Mel.
Thanks.
Bylaw number 12-21, loan to Strathmore and District Chamber of Commerce, page 69. Any comments from you? No?
No, it's just to give second and third reading to the bylaw to provide for the loaning of funds to the Strathmore and District Chamber of Commerce for a 7-year term with no interest payment.
Thank you. Looking for
Your Worship, I would move that council give second reading to bylaw 12-21 and authorizes the mayor and CAO to execute a loan agreement to provide for the loan to the Strathmore District Chamber of Commerce in the amount of $30,000 for a 7-year term, interest-free.
You all heard the motion. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Carried. Someone else can try one.
Your Worship, I move that council give third reading to bylaw 12-21, and authorizes the mayor and CAO to execute a loan agreement to provide for the loan to the Strathmore and District Chamber of Commerce in the amount of $30,000 for a 7-year term interest-free.
You all heard the motion. Any question or discussion on this? If not, all in favor? Carried.
Your worship, for information, they have to sign the agreement before we give them the check.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Thank you. There, I don't see any, oh, thank you, Bill.
He's running over.
You're out of here.
Pull in the troop.
There's skid marks there for God's sakes.
Hopefully he's not going down Maplewood Drive or Cambridge Glen Drive.
No old business, to my knowledge, and new business. Audit committee appointment.
Your worship, I would move that council appoint Ms. Tracy Burkholder, BCOM, CMA, to the Financial Audit Committee for the term of 1 year.
You all heard the motion. Any question or discussion? If not, all in favor? Carried. Assessment Review Board, 8-2, page 77.
I think there's a second motion on that one, Your Worship.
There was? I'm sorry.
There's a financial audit committee report, I understand. Council accept the report for information? No?
That was
Disregard?
an option.
Thank you. Oh, okay. Sorry.
Okay. 8-2, Assessment Review Board appointment.
Your worship, I would move that council appoint Mr. Rennie Zankel to the Strathmore Assessment Review Board for a term of 1 year.
You all heard the motion. Any questions or discussion? Not, all in favor? Carried. Strathmore District Agricultural Society, page 79.
Good evening, Your Worship.
Good evening.
Council. It's been an
Ready, Ann?
exciting evening so far. I hope I can keep up the good work.
Well,
The Strathmore and District Agricultural Society is requesting council to waive the development permit fee for the temporary signs, local business advertising located on fencing at the Strathmore and District Agricultural Society boundaries. The subject land is Zone P1, Public Service District. Under Land Use Bylaw 8920, temporary signs are discretionary use, requiring an approved development permit and payment of the application fee of $75 per sign each year. Temporary signs can be allowed for a maximum period of 1 year. On December 13th, 2012, Planning and Development mailed a letter to the Strathmore and District Agricultural Society advising that under Land Use Bylaw 8920, Section 410, Public Service District, signs are discretionary use and as such require development permit and approval by the development officer and payment of the applicable fee. Currently, there are 33 signs located on the Ag Society fencing, with potential for more signs to be attached, which could amount to approximately 1,300 meters of signage on the fencing along Wheatland Trail and North Boundary Road. Council could consider restricting the signage to be located along the west boundary fence, approximately 500 meters, but this option has not been discussed with the Ag Society. In response to the December 13th letter, the town received a request to waive the development permit fee for the signs from the Ag Society, and I've attached that to the report. At this time, we offer alternatives. That council direct planning and development to request a development permit from the Strathmore Ag Society for each temporary sign, including the payment of the applicable fees, or that council direct planning and development to require one development permit for all the temporary signs and to waive the development permit fee for the temporary signs located on the fencing along the west and north side of the Ag Society boundaries. Our recommended action, that council direct planning and development to require one development permit for all the temporary signs and waive the development permit fee for the temporary signs located on the fencing along the west and north side of the Ag Society boundaries. Thank you.
Thank you. I see 8.3 and 8.4 are much the same. Why can't we handle this all in one issue? Would council be in favor of that?
Depends on whether we would grant one,
No,
they
not the other.
request and the other one
We
not.
better do them separately.
Okay. Any questions from council?
My only concern, Your Worship, is if we grant one and not the other, aren't we setting a precedent then? That could be a difficult thing to negotiate or to deal with later.
Cross that bridge when we get to it.
Okay.
That's why I wanted, yeah, Councillor Best.
Obviously, they're doing this for profit, putting these signs up. Do we know offhand how much money that they're getting per sign?
I think we have an idea. We don't know the exact, we don't have the specific.
Approximation's fine.
It's not mentioned in their letter.
Approximately $300 per sign.
300
per year.
What they do mention in their letter is that the funds raised through the advertising signs are donated back into community groups, a variety of community groups. And they also use proceeds of the signs to subsidize the ball diamonds, which are a struggle to operate, their words in their letter.
Councillor Hamilton.
I presume that $300 is per year for each sign?
Yeah, we don't know.
I do not have information as to how much the Ag Society charges per sign. The town's fee is $75 per sign, which if they are charging $300 would cut into their profit.
Yeah. That's the impression we have, is an annual fee that they charge.
Councillor Rempel.
I'll let Councillor Rocky do his first.
Thank you, Councillor Rimpel. Your Worship, through the chair, is that a town fee? Is that a one-time fee? Or is that a yearly fee?
It's a one-time yearly fee, yes, yearly fee, per song,
Every year, like?
yes,
$75 every year?
Yes.
To have that sign on the fence?
yes.
Thank you.
Councillor Rempel.
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay.
I move that council direct planning and development to require one development permit for all the temporary signs and waive the development permit fee for the temporary signs, like for local business advertising, located on the fencing along the west and north side of the Ag Society boundaries.
Thank you. Y'all heard the motion. I just want to make stated, you guys said 1,400 meters of fence or something to that effect.
1,300
meters of
Length,
length.
yeah. They have made a policy to only put a sign up every second set of posts, just because of the fence wouldn't sustain the wind. Yeah. So it wouldn't really be half of that amount. Yeah.
Your Worship, I'm sorry to bring this up late, but my whole concern with this area is the way things look, aesthetics, and I'm wondering whether there's any provisions in this bylaw to enforce the aesthetics of these signs. Is there some requirement that for the permit to be granted, they must be in reasonable shape or in good shape, or they're not torn or ripped? Because that's my only concern about this thing, is that they're going to start getting slashed or whatever, and it's going to look like garbage. I just want them looking professional and looking nice. Is there anything like that? Do you guys have it?
At this time, in the sign regulations, section 70 of the OUB, we can regulate the size. What we cannot regulate is what the sign says within reason.
Mm-hmm.
But we could also say to the Ag Society that they monitor the signage that they are putting there, and that if it does become damaged or graffiti gets put on it, whatever, that it gets replaced. We should put that as a note on the development permit.
Do you want that for the amendment, Councillor? Would that?
No, I think that the whole thing of signage is probably going to be coming before council here again in a short while, I believe. And we could address it all at that time.
But you do have a motion on the floor now.
Yes, I do.
Your worship, I also got the deputy CEO that's either she has to go to the bathroom, she really wants to say something.
You're allowed to leave the room.
Your worship, sorry, we could put that on as a condition of development. If you're issuing one permit for all of the signs, it could be a condition on the permit.
Would you need to amend the bylaw for that? Or you may, you can always. Or is this like site specific?
We can always address it as site.
Yes.
Would you accept that as a friendly amendment, Councillor?
Certainly by Councillor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
Could I get the motion read again, please?
I forget what it said the first.
No.
What was the amendment?
And that, so the motion and that the conditions of the sign be addressed in a original development.
Right.
For the aesthetics.
Oh, so that comes after the motion. Okay. That council direct planning and development to require one development permit for all the temporary signs and waive the development permit fee for the temporary signs located on the fencing along the west and north side of the Ag Society boundaries.
Thank you. I'm interested. Is that it?
Then you would add the
And with,
amendment.
that's part of the motion.
Okay. You had made a comment that we're going to address the signs again. Why are we doing this now?
Well, no, that's totally different than what we're doing here.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Y'all heard the motion?
I just want to make sure that we're okay here with the addition. That's all, because it wasn't read out. With just the last part, because.
So the last part reads, and that the aesthetics of the sign be condition of development.
Perfect.
Thank you. Y'all heard the motion? All in favor? Carried. A4 Strathmore High School.
Very similar situation, Your Worship. Strathmore High School is requesting council to waive the development permit fee for the temporary signs, local business advertising located on fencing at the high school boundaries. Once again, the subject land is Zone P1 Public Service District and does require temporary signage to have an approved development permit and payment of the application fee of $75 per sign each year. Temporary signs can be allowed for a maximum period of 1 year. Once again, on December 13th, Planning and Development mailed a letter to the Strathmore High School advising under Land Use Bylaw 8920, Section 410, public service district signs are discretionary use and as such require development permit and approval by the development officer and payment of the applicable fees. Currently, there are 9 signs located on the high school fencing with potential for more signs to be attached, which could amount to approximately 500 meters of signage on the fencing along Wheatland Trail and Brett Boulevard. Council could consider restricting the signage to be located along the south boundary fence, which is approximately 165 meters, but this option has not been discussed with the high school. In response to the December 13th letter, the town received a request to waive the development permit fees for the signs from the high school. And what we are at this time recommending that council direct planning and development to require one development permit for all the temporary signs and to waive the development permit fee for the temporary signs located on the fencing along the west and south side of the high school boundary.
Y'all heard the request. Any comments from council? Questions? Councilor Best?
Your worship, I would also ask that that on an amendment to this, we add the same comments as Councillor Sobel had on the last motion.
No other questions from anybody? Councilor?
Your worship, I just want to make sure that since I'm a teacher at Strathmore High School,
No, don't worry about that, dear.
Okay, because I'm not gaining anything from this.
Oh, you probably are.
I'm not getting, there are no kickbacks, there's no payola. I don't even coach there anymore.
Make the motion.
Then make the motion.
I'd like to make the motion, but I don't know how. You got it there? Yeah, it's not there.
Sure it is, right here.
All right, okay, I'd like to make a motion. I hope this works. Sorry, Mr. Larson, you haven't had a chance to say anything. Your worship, I move that council direct planning and development to require one development permit for all the temporary signs and waive the development permit fee for the temporary signs involving local business advertising located on the fencing along the west and south side of the high school boundaries, with the amendment, with the condition that the aesthetics of the signs be kept at a professional level.
You all heard the motion. That's close enough.
You all heard the attempt at the motion.
All in favor? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
May I offer my congratulations on receiving?
Thank you. Thank you very much. We have to have these motions a little clearer for next meetings. Thank you. A5, Canadian Badlands, page 91.
Your worship, just before we move on, I'd like to invite Mr. Larson to stay till the completion of the meeting if he's interested.
Thank you for coming. Canadian Badlands, page 91.
Your worship, council decided to join the Canadian Badlands Association 2012 for Tourism Development. It's been a year since Strathmore has been a part of the Badlands Association, and we have received our yearly, annual levy for membership to the association. It's 50 cents per capita, which equals $6,069.50. Administration is bringing this forward to council for the
Yes, Councilor Hamilton.
Have we had any feedback in regards to what the Badlands Association has done for the town of Strathmore, or any plans, anything else like that? I would maybe recommend through the chair that maybe we get a bit of a report from them if we don't have one already in place prior to payment of any more money.
Councilor Rocky.
Yes, Your Worship. Was my understanding when we got into this last year, amongst a bunch of other things, we were supposed to have signs in each end of town.
Or help with signs.
I haven't even seen signs. Are there signs out there?
That program is no longer in place.
Oh.
They're looking at reinstating it this year, but.
Go ahead, Councilor Best. Then
Your
Councilor
worship,
Rempel.
I wasn't in favor of this last year. I'm certainly not going to be in favor of it this year. I was in mind went blank where they have the theater in Rosebud. I went over and looked at the Badlands sign, and Strathmore's not even mentioned. I don't see the good job they're doing for us. I haven't seen the promises that have made. As I say, I was against this last year. I'm certainly not going to be for it this year.
Councilor Rempel. Yeah, your turn.
I've moved the council accept this as information.
Okay, any discussion, Councilor?
Your worship, I would just say that I'm not in favor of going into this again. I was at the Horseshoe Canyon near Drumheller. Various other small towns and areas were mentioned and on the big sign, and nothing was there for Strathmore. Yeah.
Very disappointing.
Yep, very disappointing.
I like the part of information. If they want to come and make a presentation that makes any sense, and if they can help us out with our new logo with dollars up front, that would it would mean something to me. You know, that's the way I would look at it. Thank you. You heard the motion. All in favor? Carried. Bull River Phosphorus Terms and Reference and Presentation, page 95. Will you finally get to speak?
Yeah, in the interest of time, anybody going to be heartbroken if I don't
do a presentation?
No.
Absolutely not.
What I will do, I'll provide council with a copy of the slide deck from the presentation and you to review the presentation on the Bull Foster project at your spare time. Conscious of the 2.5 hours that we've been here already.
Just like to make a comment here, just reading the names of the organization that everybody else seems to be on board with, but Stoney Nation, Siksika, Sutini Nation are all pending.
Correct.
So it's a lot there.
So you want to just accept this information?
Well, no, what we're being asked, Alberta Environment has started this project basically to address the phosphorus within the Bow River. Because our wastewater falls into the bowl, we've been added to the steering committee for the project, and as part of the steering committee, we've been asked to commit and endorse the terms of reference, and that was like giving council a copy of the terms of reference document earlier this week for your review. So it in essence is just a commitment from the town that we will be an active steering committee member on the project. We're going to come up with a number of recommendations in terms of meeting objectives on the phosphorus levels within the bowl, contributing between the Bears Paw Dam and the Pisano Dam basically is the reach that we're focused on. So the motion for this evening is really to endorse the terms of reference that hopefully you've had an opportunity to review. And if you have any questions or concerns on the terms of reference, then we will answer those for this evening. But otherwise, I'm looking for a motion to endorse the terms of reference and then empower the mayor to sign the terms of reference on behalf of the town.
Councillor Best?
I just wanted to clarify, our phosphorus rates are lower than what is required by the province. Is that not correct?
That's correct. We do, as for a community our size with the treatment plant that we do have, our phosphorus levels are very low relative to the size of our community and the contribution of phosphorus within the Bow River. And that's obviously a reflection of a treatment plant that we put in place.
And did I hear you say that this ties in with our present concerns with stormwater from out of Strathmore and Water Smart?
It's somewhat tied. Within contributions to the Bow River, there's what we call point sources, which are typically wastewater treatment plant outfalls, and there's non-point sources, which are typically stormwater drainages. But where the majority of our stormwater goes into the WID and the system that the WID operates. So in a way, our stormwater is almost a point source because a lot of it, say 90% of it, goes through the WID system, which is somewhat considered a point source. But it's being treated as a non-point. So yeah, it does include our stormwater, but the focus for us is on the sanitary flows.
This does not include a member from council sitting on that, does it? I hope.
It's not.
It does not include a member from council.
No.
Yeah. I was hoping not.
You were talking about council's contribution to phosphorus.
Oh, no. Well, there's a lot of that, I'll tell you.
I can make a motion.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I move that council endorse the terms of reference for the Bow River Phosphorus Management Plan and that the mayor be authorized to sign the terms of reference endorsement on behalf of the town.
You all heard the motion. If there's no further discussion or questions, all in favor? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
If anyone from Environment asks, the presentation was great.
It was great.
I loved it.
It was excellent.
Could you cut the mics on that, please?
Thank you.
FC87 FCM Conference Convention, page 99.
Your Worship, FCM Convention is being held in Vancouver this year from May 30th to June 4th. Registrations are in this board of council, so that council may discuss who will be attending the conference, so register councilors and attend the session.
Who is going at the present time?
At this time, I believe we've confirmed Mayor Grechuk, CEO Stanford, and Councilor Johnson.
Didn't Councilor Silver put his name in there too, the first? You did not, Council?
Yeah, I did.
His name was there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just very briefly, I know that council authorizes 2 councillors to go there. There was a motion made I didn't agree with that motion. I didn't want to, I don't believe in supporting two. I mean, two is better than 7, but I really don't think that more than one councillor is required at FCM. If Councillor Best is going, then I'm not going. It's just because I can't support two councillors going to FCM. But I do think there should be representation, but one of each rank, whatever.
Any further questions? Councillor Best?
Your Worship, when this was voted on, it was voted on as the mayor and 2 councillors, simply for the fact that over the 3-year period that all 6 councillors would have the opportunity to go. If you don't mind, I'm going to read this. It may take a couple of minutes. The Federation of Canadian Municipalities has been a national voice in municipal government since 1901. With more than 1,900 members, the FCM represents the interests of municipalities on policy and program matters that fall within the federal jurisdiction. Members include Canada's largest cities to small urban and rural communities, and 18 provincial and territorial municipality associations. Since then, the Federation of Canadian Municipalities has been the advocate for municipal governments, maintaining a strong advocacy role in lobbying the federal government to include municipal concerns in policy development and national decision-making. Through this national organization, they made sure the federal government understood the full impact of decisions on municipal governments. Canadian cities and communities are at a tipping point. The choices we make now are either allow Canada to fulfill its promise or cause us to miss the opportunities open to a country with reservoirs and talented technology resources. With the right choices, in Canada of 2030 could be a prosperous and connected country with efficient, sustainable transportation, moving goods effectively from port to city to countryside, and people from home to work and city and back again. A country where everyone has high-speed access to internet and the wealth of information and services it will develop, with vibrant cities that welcome talented people from around the world and thriving upon urban and rural, and remote communities capable of attracting and retaining people, and where governments work together to find long-term solutions to common problems, regardless of jurisdiction. I believe FCM to be a valuable tool and resource for our town. I also believe that as a member, it is vitally important that we attend the AGM and elect a new board of directors to be a participating member in voting and resolutions set before the membership body as a whole. Valuable information can be learned from the courses, seminars, and trade shows. Your Worship, I believe that FCM is a valuable tool for us, and that sending 2 councillors is certainly not out of range to do that with the importance it can bring.
Any further comments?
Just Your Worship, I'm happy with the move that we went to limit the number of people going, because I believe much more strongly in the local provincial one. I haven't been to an FCM, but I just don't know if the expense of sending the extra councillor is merited. I would like to see it stay the way it is, and I think Councillor Sobel has done a good thing as far as making a compromise for Councillor Best to be able to go.
So actually, we don't need a motion, just information, and Councillor Best is going instead of Councillor Sobel. Okay, thank you very much. Orientation of new council candidates, how appropriate on page 101.
Your Worship, with the elections coming up in October, administration feels that it would be beneficial if we have an orientation, a pre-council orientation session for potential candidates. To discuss items such as roles and responsibilities, time commitments, etc., just so that anyone who is wanting to run for council has a good idea of what's involved. And there are a number of municipalities who do this already, and a number of municipalities who are looking at doing orientation sessions for candidates.
So when would you suggest this be done?
We were talking or suggesting possibly June, near the end of June, something like that. You don't want to do it in August or September, it's too close. So you want to give people some time. A lot of people are gone in July, so I don't know. If you could do it in June sometime,
And the month of August is off, so,
it's too close.
yeah, thank you. Any questions,
Your
Council?
worship, we were thinking that that would be given by administration, by staff, and we would talk about all that. And then, once the new council's in place, we'd have the orientation for them properly anyway.
There wouldn't be a great cost to this, would there?
Oh, no,
Like staff only and paper?
that's all, yeah.
Councilor Rempel?
Through the chair to administration. Does this become a condition of running for council?
I don't
Can't.
know.
Can't do that.
Can't do that.
It would just be an information session, and there's all kinds of information out there through municipal affairs. That is a guide to becoming a councillor, if you so wish to do so.
I would just take one comment. There may be some people that who don't want to show at that point in time that they're running for council.
Or some haven't even decided yet.
Or some haven't decided yet.
Or some haven't decided yet.
But Your Worship, having said that, this might make some people help their decision as well.
Councilor Best?
You know.
Yes.
Your worship, having been through the last 3 elections, I think this is a wonderful tool for the people who want to run. I know that many of the people who have run in the last 3 years have not understood the time commitment and what it takes a councillor to be here. I think this is a marvelous idea. I personally would move it to August, simply for the fact that by that time more people have decided on if they're going to run or what they're going to do. But I certainly feel that this is a good tool.
Any further comments? You're looking for a motion? Or
Just direction.
just direction? I like the idea.
I don't like August because nobody's around. But early September, how's early September?
Early September.
You know, the first week of school. For
Yeah, I
instance.
agree with that.
That still gives them 7 weeks before election.
It would be what, a 1-day session or half a day or?
Well, I think we do it a few evening sessions so that, people have an opportunity to come. And what I found with the municipalities who do provide these sessions, they do it from, say, 6 to 9 for 3 nights in a row.
Mhm.
Okay.
People can attend.
Great idea.
Yeah, good.
And some of us old ducks that have been on already, do we have to come to or?
You know what might be good too is if they could, if part of the orientation would be to sit through a meeting like tonight too. Really see what it's all about.
And read the letters to the editor.
Yeah.
So direction is being granted, I gather?
Yeah.
Thank you. 8-9 is done. 8-10, new town logo, page 2 on that. Some.
I had emailed the design. There are five designs for copies. And I'm looking for a vote on which logo we're going to go forward with. So that we can.
Is there something on screen?
No, they're in
Your
the
worship, it's in your agenda packet.
Oh, how far back?
on the addition last page. Your Worship.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Thank you. Okay.
Your worship.
Go ahead.
Just a question through the chair to our deputy CAO. Are these logos, whichever one we choose, are they going to be used in a variety of ways? For example, will they be color reproduced, or often will they be black and white for letterhead and things?
Well, I think it depends. I think you can have both. They're giving us a number of options, and what will happen is we will get a software or digital copies to use for a number of different things: banners, flags, letterheads.
My question is, sorry, Linda, is seeing them in black and white would also give us a better idea. Like if I like one that looks in color, it may be, someone said to me today, quite busy in black and white. But in color, the one I like, might be a totally different look.
I guess one of the things is on utility bills and all. I think it should be black and white. Otherwise, the cost can be phenomenal.
Yeah.
But on letterhead and so on that we're sending out, it should be in colors.
And this would go to the making of the pins and everything, right?
Yes.
And all logos. Councillor.
Your Worship, I have two quick items. One is earlier this week I actually spoke with this deputy CAO, and I made mention I really liked the entrance sign, which is the big one, of course, on the page. I thought that was fantastic, and I was wondering why we couldn't use that for the logo. And of course, Linda jumped to it and got number 5. So we've all, I think, given our opinions in regards to the first 4. So I just want to explain that there's a 5th one, and that is identical to the entry sign to the town, which happens to be my favorite. But anyway. And the other question I had was, do we plan on, in regards to the entry sign, will that be a lighted fixture? I would imagine. I just wanted to check that out. Thank you.
They're using reflective tape, and also reflective tape around the letters of the sign. And I think we have to have the floodlights.
Yes.
Or something.
Yes. Thank you.
I like the thought of uniformity for one thing. Keeping the entrance sign and our pins and everything else same for uniformity reasons. Councillor Best.
And I agree with that. The only thing is when I look at the black and white, which we just got, when I look at the 5th one, which is identical to the entrance sign, it looks very dark to me. I would suggest we might want to have a look at number 3. But I'm certainly open to suggestion.
Well, isn't that just in you can adjust that, can you not?
Yeah, I think we could look at something if it was black and white. Maybe we just remove the color altogether, so it doesn't show up gray.
Yeah. You can lighten it up.
Or lighten up the gray.
Yeah.
No, sorry, Your Worship, I would agree. I mean, I like the large one for the entrance and of both sides of town. Number 4 actually to me looks quite good as far as black and white and still good in color. Yeah.
Not enough
like the clouds in 3.
There's not enough clouds. Councillor Rample. Councillor Rample.
I do like the big one, number 5, but I like that the head of wheat a lot better on the 4th one than I do on the 5th one. It shows a lot better.
True enough.
Especially on the smaller scale, you can't see what it is. It looks.
That's true.
Looks like grass.
One's durum wheat, and that is actually durum wheat, and the other one's hard wheat.
Well, I understand.
Seriously.
We don't grow durum wheat here. I know the difference between them.
Okay, and we do grow durum here.
Not very much.
No. Details.
Details, so right. That's what this is all about.
That's right.
Anyway, no, I'm not being facetious.
Yes, sir.
I'm getting tired.
That's your flight.
Into a pumpkin sooner or later.
So what does council wish to do? Move the number 4 wheat to the big one. Can you do that?
Oh no.
I can do anything you want.
I love the entry sign.
Can the entry sign be different than the one we choose for? I know you like the
uniformity.
Uniformity. Well, I'm tired too. I just think number 4 is great for letterhead and paper and stationery, and the first one is going to be an amazing sign at the entrances of our town.
And let's see how many 10,000 people who go through Strathmore notice the difference.
Oh, there'll be lots. Your Worship, I'll defer to number 4 as well.
For everything?
No, for the big sign the way it is, I quite like that, but as far as the pin, I think that Councillors Rempel and Teal have made good comment on number 4, and I will go with that.
Councillor Hamilton?
Well, I think number 4 defeats the whole purpose of a railway engine running on a set of tracks. It looks like it's out in the wheat field.
Maybe it took a
Looks like
wrong
it might be
turn.
Combine or some damn thing. Did I say that out loud? But I would defer. Well, I'm not going to defer to anything. I like the sign, for the entry signs. I like that, and I would recommend strongly that we go with number 5. That's my opinion. Because your train's running on a railway track.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, number 5. Here.
Number 5, let's have a show.
Number 5?
Number 5. Number 4? You're defeated.
How dare you? What if we put a railroad track up higher, Dave? Would that help you?
But for the utility bills, I think that number one.
There we go. There we go.
No, if you go to black and white on utility bills, I think that looks nicer than any of the others do.
But really, well, let's keep some uniformity. I really believe in uniformity. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
And they'll lighten up the gray for the.
Do you need a motion or just information? Yeah, we need a motion.
Move that we, well, they're not numbered, so this is the last one. Number 5. I move that we use the logo as is for the town entrance, and number 5 for branding.
For branding.
And that means everything.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Y'all heard the motion. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried.
Unanimous. It's unanimous.
Oh, sorry, I voted the wrong way.
811, page 3 on addition to the agenda.
Lost my freaking agenda here. What is that?
Yeah, I'm saying that. Looking for a motion.
Your Worship, I move that council appoint Mrs. Jennifer Sawatsky to the Strathmore United Way Committee for a term of 1 year.
You all heard the motion. Any further discussion or questions? Not all in favor? Carried. Congratulations. 812, Highway Traffic Councillor.
I now apologize for bringing this up, but I'll try to be as quickly as possible. I don't think anybody would doubt that Highway 1 is becoming more and more of a concern with the vehicles traveling through there at a high speed and at the traffic lights. I mean, I don't think it's very hard to go and see somebody drive through a red light. It's happening regularly. Statistics for 2012 show us on those 3 light Highway 1 portion between the 3 lights, 27 collisions, all reportable, and 3 injury accidents. So it's a serious issue on that highway, and I think we're just waiting for something really, really bad to happen. So the mayor actually raised this issue, and we discussed it, and I thank him for that. And there was a subsequent conversations with Alberta Transportation by the CAO and with the mayor. At this point, it appears we are allowed to install equipment that would enforce speed limits and red light violations at those traffic light locations. And that was an easy determination to make. It was a difficult question, but they're confident that it can be done. I'm raising this issue now for 2 reasons. One is to get this on the agenda for future discussions, and as well to get council support to direct administration to seek additional details such as cost and protocol for such a procedure, and to have that information back before council by the February 20th council meeting so this can be debated.
You all heard much. Any questions? Councillor
Your Worship, for years now, I've described this section of Highway 1 as our own personal Daytona 500. the speed the traffic goes through there, and I drive it every single day, and get past through the 80 and the 60 zones every single day. We certainly need to look at doing something, and I think this is a good step.
Councilor Rendell.
Through the chair to the sergeant. What would your opinion be on that type of stuff? Maybe
Sorry, he can't speak. He's not on the agenda. Go ahead.
I was approached and asked to pull the stats on that. They're increasing. We don't have a lot of stats from previous years. And I'm not the perfect person to pull the stats in the office. So that's the bare minimum on the accidents. It actually may be more, as I talk about stats and who inputs and how you get this stats. So I don't generally do that. It's usually when our support staff are bang on. So that's a bare minimum with accidents. And I would say our position would be to support that. It's a very difficult, the setup of the road and that is difficult for us to continually enforce in the ways because of the officer safety involvement and the fact that if you do go to enforcement, you can only do one part of that intersection and whatnot. So you could be sitting on one side of the highway and have that problem with people breaking the law going the other way, and it would be very difficult to enforce. So it's a very difficult thing for us to enforce, and in that way, I think that anything that will help the town be safe, I don't see any problem with that. We would clearly, obviously, be in favor of it.
What are your thoughts on photos?
On photo?
Yeah.
Radar?
Well, at the corner of 68th and Highway 1, they've got a camera there that takes more pictures than I've ever seen a camera take. For anyone who either runs the light or goes speeding through, and it's picking up, I see it just about all the time. It's flashing like crazy. I'm just wondering what your thoughts on that are.
I mean,
Well, isn't this what it is? It's photo?
that's exactly it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
both.
both.
Okay.
It's speed and
From what I understand.
Yeah.
speed on green and.
Right, speed
Yeah.
on green and photo on red,
Mhm.
on the red light.
Okay,
So you
yeah,
have
and
a red light and a speed camera on green.
Then looking at Highway 168th, then this works.
Yeah, and it's gonna be beneficial, I think. So I would say that
Councilor Rendell, did you want more comments?
No, thank you very much.
Any other questions? No, you're directing, this is a
Yeah,
motion?
just direct, yeah.
Thank you.
We don't need a motion at this point. It's just authority for council, for administration to seek further information in this regard.
8:13, Councilor Rocky, snow removal.
Thank you, Your Worship. I've brought this subject up a few times in the past. I'm going to bring it up again tonight. Right off the top of my head, my personal thanks and gratitude to our town staff for keeping the entire town very accessible and clean with snow clearing and removal. I just have a few issues on downtown. As mentioned before at previous meetings, and don't forget, I'm downtown every morning at 5 o'clock, and if I don't get out of here fast enough, I'll be working in this suit. I'm downtown every morning at 5:30. I see what goes on there, and they're doing an excellent job. Instead of clearing from side to side, I would suggest we look at that windrow down the middle. As previously mentioned, when I bring this up, the answer is there's not enough room to do that for angle parking to back up safely. I got 4 points here. As it's being done now, the angle parking and even the parallel parking on the other side of the street, when they pile the snow up on each side of the sidewalks, these vehicles got to stay back about 2 feet. So they're already pushing back into the middle of the road because of the snow that's pushed to the edge of the sidewalk. The second point is the citizens later on in the day getting out of their vehicles that are coming downtown, they have to, a lot of these people are seniors, they have to climb over, depending on how much snow is pushed over, they got to climb over a 1.5 or sometimes a 2-foot snowbank to access the sidewalks. This morning, I watched 4 public work employees shoveling sidewalks on both sides of the street because of excess snow and ice left on top of the sidewalks on both sides of the street. Because of the front end loader that goes down and cleans up the bank of snow on the sidewalk's edge. My reasoning is by leaving the windrow down the middle of the road, we would eliminate the above 3 points altogether. I'm suggesting, why don't we just try this method a couple of times? I mean, if it doesn't work, we can go back to the way we're doing it now. And please don't get me wrong, I'm not criticizing, I'm just offering different suggestions for improving the system, mainly downtown.
Councilor Rempel?
I agree with Councilor Rocky on that. The only other thing that I'd like to add to it is that move the snow from the sides to the middle and get rid of it right away.
Yeah.
Load it into the trucks and get it off Main Street. And if they have to block the street for half an hour, whatever it takes, then so be it.
I think right now they're moving it into, correct me if I'm wrong, Jesse, they're moving it into just Jesse Park? Or I mean Kinsman Park?
Jesse Park!
Nice job, Jesse. Congratulations.
Can you, and I like those suggestions, I thought that would be implemented, but what about the fact that if there is, and I would be firm on it, if there's a vehicle that's parked there at 5 in the morning, that would create a problem for how do you do that? You just tow it?
No.
Yes. In terms of drawing it off the curb and out.
Well, how can I'm trying to say that if there's a couple of vehicles like early risers like Rocky, what do you do with these, and the plow would have to go around, and would that work, or?
That's what we do today. There are vehicles that come down and go around, but we're pushing it to the side, we just have to pull it through the middle. So, I mean, we can definitely try it. I'm definitely, if I said we couldn't try it, I'd be a hypocrite, because I always encourage our guys to come up with different ideas on doing things. So I don't want to say that we can't try it. I guess I'm a little skeptical, because I know that windrow can vary in width, right? And the road width that we have down there is about 17.5 meters. And so our typical driving lane is 3.5. So there's 2 driving lanes, that would be about 7 meters. The trucks that park down there, if there's a truck, a super cab 350 or something like that, those are usually 6 meters long. And so, they get stuff into the 13 realm, add another 3 meter parking on the other side for the parallel. 16 really only leaves us with a meter and a half of the buffer between each vehicle plus a windrow. So if it's a meter and a half, and say you have to leave 6 inches between meters and you're passing each other, it doesn't leave us a whole lot of room, right? It's very tight. And I guess in terms of the removal immediately, it presents a bit of a challenge for us, because in the event of a significant snowfall, we're trying to open up as many of these priority 1 roadways as we can. We only have 7 staff for public works, and we're able to contract trucks, but that drives our contracted service up. We've made a commitment that we'll get into the downtown within 24 hours. Yes, we can do that quicker is if we are able to contract and go up more frequently, I guess, with contracted service trucking. But it would still require, at minimum, 2 of our staff to be dedicated to the downtown area with a greater windrow and then a snow blower to basically remove any trucks, and likely 4 trucks to then remove the Kinsman to have it done in a timely fashion. And I'm not trying to sound negative on it. It's just that's the reality. For the 7 guys, if we were to do it ourselves, that's almost 6 guys that would have to be doing snow removal from downtown. If we were doing that at 5:30 in the morning, we're not opening the roads up before 7 o'clock. That's 30.
So how long do you anticipate, if we did try it, how long would it take to do that? I mean, riding an average snowball?
To remove?
Yeah.
Are we talking, and I guess we have to scope it, right? Are we talking everything between Lakeside Boulevard and 817? Are we talking 2nd, 3rd Street and Lakeside? Are we talking second Ave and third Ave? Like, we need.
I would like to take a test, just try it from the credit union to past the co-op. Or the Legion up to Legion, just do a test model, and just see how long it takes.
Is that with removal?
With removal, yeah.
Yeah, but Your Worship, I'm concerned that we're going to be doing that at the cost of not having emergency roads open and the priority roads open.
Well, this comes after emergency routes are open. This doesn't come before that. Downtown does not,
well, that's
not a first priority.
That's what he's doing.
No, not necessarily.
When would you do this?
Well, I don't know that we can close the roads during business hours. We'll hear it on the other side, right? I mean,
No,
you can't close that down to do snow removal. And we've tried to do it during business hours without closing the road, and it doesn't work.
No.
To say that we can get in there, if we get an overnight snowfall, to say that we could get in there before 7:30 or 8 o'clock is really pushing it.
Yeah, but if you have a 24-hour window, that doesn't mean that you have to go there be there the first morning of the snowfall.
No, and I guess maybe I misunderstood. We are committing to the 24 hours as we speak, so we're trying to get in there within the 24-hour window of that last flake of snowfall.
Yeah, so that still gives you time to open up your priority routes.
Sure.
Before.
Well, not really, because if it's snowing 3 days in a row like it did last week,
But that's different.
you know, there's all kind of scenarios.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I know that 6:45 in the morning when I come through downtown, there might be one vehicle that's left there overnight.
And we also, in terms of that, like, we have the on-call guy starts at 5:30 in the morning. Regular staff start at 7:30. So typically, you know, if we were to get a snowfall overnight, we would be depending on the acknowledgement from staff that basically more than 3 centimeters fell or whatever the case may be. Instead of starting at 7:30, I have to start early to get that out before the morning rush. But if council is okay with the 24-hour window to get back in, get that, we can make that work. It just could present a problem traffic-wise downtown with the wind road down.
Absolutely. You can't put the window down the middle and not remove it.
You got to remove it.
Yeah.
Well, if you want to try that, thank you very much for your suggestions, Rocky. I mean, I'm the same way. These folks got to be able to get to the stores.
Just for clarity, then, are we talking about trying to remove it immediately? I don't.
As soon as.
Okay, so we would be taking a grader downtown at 5:30 the morning after the snowfall with our staff to then basically remove it and not.
After the emergency roads are done.
Yeah, within the 24 hours.
That's what I'm saying.
So we have the emergency roads, but we also have priority ones, right? So our ones are, you know, Thomas Center, Centennial Drive, Brent, George Freeman Trail, North Boundary. You know, those are the big ones. Are we saying we're going to open those up before we go back to get downtown?
Correct me if I'm wrong. Are we not just leaving everything the same, but instead of the way to clean it is different? Just go into the middle rather than going to the right.
I wasn't trying to change the schedule.
We want to just move everything into the middle when you snow blow.
I just want to make sure I address Councilor Rempel's suggestion that we remove the meeting.
Oh, no, what I meant by that, I'm sorry, what I meant by that is when you window it to the middle to remove it right away and not leave it there. That was my,
Remove the window immediately.
yes,
right?
Yes. Not remove the snow immediately after the snowfall. Because you have like you say, you have a 24-hour window there. So if it snows tonight, I'm not suggesting that you go there tomorrow morning and window it and blow it into the trucks and move it away. You have 24 hours or whatever or 36 hours, whatever it is that you know.
So we windrow it to the middle, leave it for 24
No.
hours.
No.
Not at all. I would rather see you do it to the side if you're going to leave it.
But that's not what council.
I know. I know.
Well, I started off suggesting, to me that road is wide enough. I can't see why you can't leave it laying there for one day and I'll go pick it up the next day.
That's what your suggestion is, right? If we have a 24-hour period where we have a windrow down the middle, that you set them on the side, and you come back the night of after a snowfall to get it. But that's, again, that kind of counteracts what Councilor Reynolds.
Exactly, and you can't make left-hand turns on Main Street.
Well, that's
You have
good.
the window.
That's a good thing.
I'm not trying to change your schedule. I mean, the way you guys are doing it now, it's perfect. I'm just trying to get the snow off from the sides of the road into the middle.
Okay,
If it's gotta lay there for a day, let it lay there for a day and come back the next day.
Now that you're sorely confused, handle it.
Yeah, it's all yours.
What I like about the 24-hour thing is it gives the shop owners an opportunity to clean the sidewalks onto the existing snow. Instead of the town coming in there cleaning the streets, and then the business people come and throw us the snow back into the street again.
Yeah.
Okay. You got it clear as mud?
Yeah.
Thank you. But it is a serious matter, it really is. I'm not making light of it. Yeah. There is no administration. We're canceling 9. We're going to 10 departmental reports. Council committee reports.
No committee meetings so far.
Council Rempel first.
This year, no committee meetings so far this year.
Council Fuel.
I'm going to the Wheatland Housing one tomorrow. It's the first one.
Council Best.
My committee meetings in December were Christmas dinners, and my first committee meeting is tomorrow night.
Councilor Hamilton.
There was a meeting held on January 7th at the local ambulance office. The main topics of discussion revolved around a rate increase for attending the rodeo. An increase of 10% was put forward, and a cost recovery for August 1st at the Strathmore rodeo. Discussion was held in regard to whether or not to advise dispatch in regard to the issue of fire permits, as this is time consuming to dispatch and serves no purpose, as all the fire chiefs in the respective areas are made aware of the permits. New policies are to be implemented in regard to mileage rates to match the current federal government rates in relation to the release of audited financial reports. There was a total of 3,043 calls in 2012 in comparison to 3,030 in 2011. The January 7th, there has been 68 calls. EHS contract negotiations were held on January 10th and to be continued on February 7th. Chamber of Commerce, no meeting held. 55 plus bids committee, the bid for the games has been submitted. Is now awaiting game until March of this year to see if we're successful or not. Communities in Bloom, AGM was held on the 14th of January, but due to family commitments, I was unable to attend. However, there's been no new president elected. The treasurer remains the same. The committee will not be seeking a Bloom this year, but going for a Friends Award. Consideration will be given to advertising for a president. Citizen patrol, no meeting held. Order council, no meeting held.
Sold.
Thank you. Councilor Rocky.
Your worship,
I didn't even try.
Yeah, I got that.
attended the United Way meeting December 18th, canceled due to lack of board members. Attended United Way meeting last night, canceled due to lack of board members. Just as a footnote while I'm on this, Calgary Partnership Agreement with Strathmore states 8 board members, including council rep, have to be on board. We're only a couple of shy. Jen's been out with us for a year and a half, so we're not short that many. We're having trouble getting volunteers to come forward to even try and sit on this board. So if anybody can do some networking in here, and we can try and find somebody. United Way does have a minimum of some $30,000 on the low amount and a high amount of $55,000. That does get donated in this town to several different organizations. Be ashamed to see this money not go. Without proper board members allocated, we can't make decisions, and our hands are tied.
You're desperate.
We need members, board members. So if anybody knows in your different circles, anybody's interested, and maybe if anybody's watching us still.
How many do you need?
Really,
anybody's still watching us.
Only what, a couple of short, Jim? Yeah, to get to our 8.
Can we put that out in the our flat, the billing, please?
Maybe
Thank you.
Facebook too.
Yeah. Councilor Phil.
Just very briefly, SWAT meeting was held December the 6th. The young folks continue to I'm sorry, wrong committee. SWAT. SWAT. We as a group continue. That's the Strathmore Wheatland Addictions Team. We continue to erect signs which are designed to give positive messages to our youth in different locations in town. And a report has been compiled in regards to the results of the first year of the positive ticketing program. That information will be shared with the local newspapers during the coming week. In regards to SAY, meeting held December the 12th, myself and Mayor Graychuk, I just about called you Constable. Mayor Graychuk were in attendance. The focus was of the meeting dealt with the upcoming projects the group is working on, and they continue to be happy with the idea of attending council meetings. And there were, as you can see, we're a few here today. That's all I have, Your Worship.
Thank you. There was no CRP meeting, but I was in conversation with CRP, and we're gearing for the Fort McMurray trip sometime in the dates about the end of May, around the 24th. It's not confirmed yet, but it'll be around that time. But if you, not only can council go, but if you got a businessman in town that would be interested in going, you can invite them, and it'll be on a priority basis. So it's mayor and council, CEOs, and businessmen in town. We'll see if we can get enough people.
What date is that? I'm sorry.
Around May 24th. That's approximate date, and it sounds like it's going to be. Thank you very much. And I made a motion to accept the committee reports.
I move to accept the committee reports, Your Worship.
Thank you. All in favor? Carried. No question between councillors and no council invitations. Obviously, 13. Do we have to go into camera, or is it no?
Move to adjourn.
All in favor?